Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Good show by Mark McGuire today. I'm almost done listening to it. We'll go through a few of some of it here. Not much longer. Actually, the paper currencies collapsed. And basically, they've killed the whole bullshit Nixon did, taking us off the gold standard, is now done. So what do I mean by that? It means at this point, the paper universe has collapsed. But nobody's telling you that it's collapsed. So if they don't say anything, they hope it doesn't. So your China and your Russia and most of your other parts of Europe and Asia are off the treasuries, and they're buying the Russian gold. Their Federal Reserves are buying the Russian gold, or they're buying the gold, not necessarily the Russian gold, but most of it's Russian or Chinese. So look for gold and silver to go through the roof real soon. We'll get more into that in a minute. But I did want to touch briefly on economics before we get into it, which is basically the paper universe versus the gold universe. So this is your paper universe. We pay for things in paper. We get paid in paper. It doesn't have a value. It's all a big, it's a Madoff. This has no value, but somebody will give me $100,000 to work as a financial analyst, and they'll pay me in this. I'm not getting paid anything. However, because I can go and pay this, my rent and my utilities, with this paper money, we all think it has a value. It's all a scam. It has no value. Then you have this FX. So when I help out Jenna in Ukraine, her dollars are worth 35 of her dollars is equal to one of ours. So I give her $100, she gets 3,500 Ukrainian dollars. But guess what? Hers aren't worth anything either. However, she's able to go to the grocery store and get her nails done and do all that with her phony money. So it has no value, but people are forced to take it because the government forces them. That's the paper world. That's the paper universe, right? We don't want it, but we understand it's really worth nothing. So we sit there going, well, this isn't worth anything. We want gold. And that's what's happening now. We're going into the gold universe, where people are waking up, the Russians and Chinese and Hong Kong and all these BRICS countries are realizing the dollar's worthless. We don't want it, especially if we have oil. If we have oil, it's a real asset. Yeah, I mean, it's something real. I don't want paper for it. I want gold for it. And that's what's happening now with Saudi Arabia. The Dubai and Russia are saying, no, we want to get paid in gold. We don't want the dollar anymore. So once everybody realizes and the $90 trillion from foreign come back to the US going, we don't want this shit. Once they realize, then we're all done. And it's just, you better have gold and silver. So really, you're living in a paper universe that it's worse than the Matrix. It's just a scam. It's not real. The money's worthless. But because all the companies go along with it, and you can go to Kroger's and buy milk and ice cream, or you go to the restaurant and you give them your debit card, people don't understand you're using money to do that's money. Well, we don't use cash, paper. There you go. How the hell do you pay for it? Well, it's just a debit in my account from my employer. Yeah, but if I don't have this in my account, I can't use my debit card or something. If it's paper or not paper doesn't really matter. That's not the argument. The argument is it's not backed by gold. So whatever it is, it's not worth anything. If you want to use digital and think digital has a value, you're out of your mind. You want to think Bitcoin has a value, you're out of your mind. It doesn't. The only thing with a value is an asset, and the only asset that's worth anything, the only money that's worth anything is gold and silver. It's the only asset money. So if you want to think, well, we'll use digital, and we'll just use that, and we'll give a value of whatever it's worth. But it isn't anything. This is the argument, right? Well, we'll get rid of paper. We don't need paper. We'll just use digital. So you'll get, payday, you'll get a digital amount in your bank that you can use on your credit card and your debit cards. Why do you think we have a debt now? And what do you think, we're going to just get rid of the debt? So you owe $300,000 on your house. You're just going to walk away and say, well, I really don't owe it anymore? I mean, you think that's what's going to happen? And it's got nothing to do with the paper. It's how much is out there. So if we go digital, if you have 10 trillion digital dollars, it's still inflation. It's still, that's why things cost more, is because of the value of the dollar dropping. Be it printed or not printed, it has to be backed by something. You can't just make it up. So we're headed into this gold universe where the paper universe is collapsing. Everybody's saying, oh, it's going to be dark day. No, just switch to the gold universe. The problem is people with the gold benefit and people without gold are really fucked. But they don't want to tell you that. Isn't it funny? Yesterday, Greg and John goes, you should teach this at universities. Where? Who's going to let me teach this? They don't teach this at universities. They don't want you to know. I learned it in a university in 1992, 93, or 93, 4, and 5. I graduated in 95. They don't teach it there anymore. The only way I can teach this is here. If I have a seminar at a hotel, one of these just seminar things. That's it. They don't want you to understand it, because then you'll realize that you're being fucked over by a government and the bankers. And the bankers want control because they can print the money and have more money. So if I got the printing press, I'm going to print. I want $1 million, and I go print it. But they don't want you to know what I'm doing, and they want to have the control over. They're the ones with the printing press. So like Money Heist, they want to sit there and print all the euros, a billion euros they want to print. Okay. And that's where we're already in, but nobody will tell you that. What I try to do is tell you, look, this is collapsed. This is gone. If COMEX wants to sit there and print paper money, it's got to be backed by gold. So it's all done now. The derivative, they're winding down. They're making money. JP Morgan's making this, but this has no value. So they're making a lot of nothing. All I can say is if you're running a business and you're making money, immediately turn it into gold and silver, because the money you make is basically worthless. So it's all part of a Ponzi scheme. The whole banking system's a Ponzi scheme. And that's what they're doing. That's why I say get out of the stock market. It's all a fraud. If you have gold and silver, it's not a fraud because it's real. And that's your only out of reality, is to all of a sudden everything goes down in value because this is gone. So everything's zero now. But here comes gold. And like I said, 1 ounce of gold will buy a house, because this, you couldn't have it. Nobody will want this. I'll give you 1 million of these for your house. I don't want this. That's not real money. If nobody wants it, it's gone. And that's what we're getting close to. People will still take it because they don't know. It's ignorance, but that's what's happening. This has got, that's it. It's not, this has no value. It's done. All right, give it a couple more months. First thing in January 24, Russia takes over. Gold back BRICS currency, gold back ruble currency. Then you'll start seeing the dollar can't compete with gold. And you'll start saying, if you have a choice, you're going to take gold. Then you'll start seeing prices come down in gold. So there'll be a gold price and a dollar price. So things will cost $1,000 for gas, or 1/10 of an ounce of silver for gas. That tells you the dollar's gone. It's worth nothing. Then nobody will want the dollar. And as soon as nobody wants the dollar, it's all over. That's how these currencies end. People wake up, realize they've been defrauded. I mean, at least Madoff gave you money back, right? You gave Madoff $100,000. He gave you back 14% a month, or whatever it was. I don't know. Wasn't involved. But basically, he was giving you money back. So he's taking more money in, and in this hand, and paying you out in this hand. Well, at least you got paid out. Now at the end, you never got this, so your money went to zero. Well, how is that any different than what's happening now? I got $100,000 in the bank in this. This doesn't have a value anymore. This is worthless. So by the way, your $100,000 in the bank is worth zero. How is that any different than Madoff? It isn't, because the money that this is no longer, means the money in your bank account at $100,000 or in stocks isn't worth anything. Your assets are the way out, because your assets, your house will get valued in gold. Your car will get valued in gold. Your Mantle card will get valued in gold. So it switches. This is a Mahomes card, 50 count. Let's say it's $5,000. I don't know. I haven't looked. So it's $5,000 in paper, goes to zero. So now it's worth zero in paper. It'll be worth a 1/4 ounce of gold. It'll be worth a 1/4 ounce of gold. So now it gets valued in gold. That's what happens. So everybody, this is the missing link that so many people can't seem to answer. Well, we'll go, whatchamacallit? God, I keep fucking this word up. Barter. We'll go to barter. No, there's no barter. You're going to use gold and silver because that's the new money, but that's always been the money. Everything should be valued in gold and silver now. But no, the central bank comes in 1913 and starts fucking around with this play money. So you're playing with monopoly money. That's what you're doing right now. Only you don't know it. And they don't tell you. They just want you to play the game. They don't want you to understand the game. I'm giving you the rules. So basically what's happening is the monopoly money is coming to an end. Problem is every country's playing monopoly. Except the Russians and Chinese and the Far East and maybe some Middle East countries. Saudis buying gold, Russia and China are buying gold. Why are they buying gold? Why is Putin buying 32,000 tons of gold? Can't he just print his monopoly money? But in the sanction game, the U.S. says, we don't want to play monopoly with you. We don't want your money. You can't use it, and everything we have in rubles, we're going to freeze. So Russia says, fine, freeze our worthless dollars. We're gonna use our gold and silver on you. Now, what game do you want to play? Do you want to play paper game, Monopoly, or do you want to play real game, real money, gold and silver? And everybody gets in the gold and silver line because it's real. They can't get fucked. They can't print it. There's 10 trillion of these, at least, maybe more, maybe 30 or 40 trillion. It has no value. You can't do that with gold. It is what it is. It's printed. That's all it is. All right, I wanted to get that out because people don't understand that the value of the dollar is going to zero. It's already there. But the gold world will get the new prices. If you want to go on a trip, it'll be a quarter ounce of gold. And they'll come out with, like I said, gold back. So the gold back currency. So this will be worth $5 of gold or whatever. And now you want to fly. I want to fly to Europe. It'll be $100 gold or whatever that'll be. But everything will just change to gold. So we'll talk about that with Alligator later. Okay, let's go to football. Yesterday, Pitt wins 20-16, 36 total. Levis against Pickett. Pickett looked better. Levis didn't look too bad. I've got the score Tennessee 24, Pitt 20. The score is Pitt 20, Tennessee 16. I bet the over. The over was 36. I teased it down to 30, and they win it at the end there. It's sitting at 29. It's 16-13. And I'm like, and they're running the ball, and I'm dying. They finally get down to the other side. I go, okay, good. I know I'm going to get a field goal from the coach. Pitt's coach he's not one of these fourth down guys. I'm going to get a field goal. And that's all I need is 1 point. I got 29, it gets me to 32. So I feel good. I get the ball at like the 10-yard line, then it goes to the 1. Then they jump off sides, and it's at the 6, and then they get a penalty. And finally, I get the touchdown. But I know I'm going to get the field. I know, worst case, it's going to be 16-all. And I get the touchdown, and I win. So then it's once it's over, that's the beauty of it. It's over. So I get the 36. 36 obviously covers the 30. And this is where Vegas really messes up. Vegas's problem is, they have all these games at 42, 43, and the unders start coming in. And so let's look at all this. You got Pitt, Tennessee was at 36. You got Minnesota, Atlanta is at 37. You got Arizona, Cleveland at 37. You got LA, Green Bay at 38. You got a 40 Tampa Bay, Houston. You got a 40 Washington, New England. You got a 37 the Giants in Oakland. And then a 40 with San Diego and the Jets. And you have one game of 50, which is Miami, Kansas City in Germany, which I actually think is high considering how strong Kansas City's defense is. So that's what you look at. So normally this would have been an under game, and it would have won with the under 42. But they've gone down so far to 36. I said, there's no way. Levis looked okay. Pickett's been playing well. He played well against the Rams. So I said, this is what I expect. So the one game I locked the fucking Steelers, Pickett gets hurt, and I lose the lock. And now here they go, winning 20-16 over a good Tennessee team who's much better than Jacksonville. Anyway, so we got the W there. And this is why I bet the over-under versus the game. I probably would like Tennessee in 8.5, but I don't know Levis enough. I know Pickett's getting better, so they're starting to score. And this is a 20 defense and a 21 defense. So I thought something in the upper 30s would come in. And all we needed, it was so low, all we needed was 30. Is ridiculous. So, yeah, easy winner there, which is good. I normally can't hit the Thursday games because of the travel and everything. So that's a winner. And then we go to college last night and Wake Forest Duke. And I got the under in that game. Riley Leonard's out. So let's look at these other scores. So we've got Troy winning 28-10. The South Alabama quarterback was out, as I warned. Duke wins 24-21. The over-under I was at was 45 because I bet it like Tuesday. It had dropped all the way to 41. I have no idea. Now, it's because Riley Leonard didn't play. So the over-under dropped, and they still scored 45. But I had 45 under 51, so I won that one. So I actually hit 2 Thursday games. I'm so excited because I'm going to pound the weekend. I'm going to have a huge Saturday and Sunday. And then in the first game, Texas Tech 35-28. I didn't even really look at that game. It's a 63 over-under was a 59. But again, both starting quarterbacks are out. TCU's backup. He's going to be good because this guy knows what he's looking for in backups. So 35-28. If you had the starters going, it would have been much higher. So 35-28. Duke wins 24-21. It's 14 all at half. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to score. And then it was nothing. Then it was 21 all going about 10 minutes left in the game. And I go, that's 42. I check. I'm under 51. I go, I can give up one more touchdown. But I don't want overtime where they each score. And Duke kicks a field goal, I think, with 2 seconds left to win 24-21. But again, with their backup quarterback. And still they scored 24. I'm surprised they gave Wake Forest 21. That's the surprise. Troy's been playing really well. They win 28-10. They got the 17 defense, and they held South Alabama. Now, this is with South Alabama's backup quarterback. So this is why you have to check injuries. You've got to know who do you got playing. Riley Leonard's out. Now, I knew Riley Leonard, the line dropped from 12 to 6. I think that's a little bit much. But it told me something's up. Why is the line dropping from 12 to 6 and 45 to 41? So I thought it was Riley Leonard out, which is fine because I had already bet the under, expecting Riley Leonard not to be playing anyway because he had a high ankle sprain. So it didn't caught me by surprise. I took advantage of the 45, thinking ahead, as I do. I think 3 steps ahead, going, well, he's hurt anyway. Even if he does play, he's not going to be good. And then they just sat him out. So that's okay. Hey, Prophet, I'm okay. No, I didn't go to the game. I was going to Portugal to meet Jenna, and I flew from Detroit, I believe, to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt to Lisbon. Normally, when you go to Portugal, certain countries, Ukraine, you're going to fly into Germany, and that's kind of the port, and then you fly out. Now, from Detroit, it's like a 7-hour flight, something like that. And then you lose time. So normally what they do to go to Europe, you leave about 7, 8 o'clock at night. You get in about 2, 3 in the morning, which then gets time changed up. So you're really there about 7 in the morning. I think I was there 7 in the morning. And then you try to stay awake because then it's usually a 10 o'clock flight to wherever you're going, Ukraine or Lisbon or whatever. So that's what happened to me. And so it was about 7 hours from Detroit to Germany. And then you just you lose the time, right? Because so you leave Thursday night and you get there Friday, it's 7 a.m. Wait a minute, what happened to Thursday night? Because if you leave at 7, it's only 2 a.m. when you get there, roughly, and then the 4 or 5 hour time change. So you really problem is you're losing Thursday night, and then but now it's 8 a.m. You're not going to bed. It's 8 a.m. You're ready to go go have fun. So that's the difference. So I didn't go to the game. I wasn't there for the game. So yeah, 7 hours. I would think Kansas City would have a small advantage because Miami has to go all the way up to New York to then fly out, or they're 4 hours or 3 hours south, where Kansas City's more north, but they're a little bit more west. But actually, that probably helps them. So Kansas City's going to just go up. Miami has to go up to get to New York, Kansas City. That's probably an extra 2 hours for Miami to fly to there. But I would have assumed they would have went Monday night. I mean, if you are leaving today, you're out of your mind. You'll never play. It takes a minimum of, I'd say, 3 days to get used to. Because now, like, you're still like right now. It's 1:30. I'm in Detroit, so it takes me. If I was flying to Germany today, I'm not at 1:30 and my body's at 1:30, but my time is it's 6 hours at 7:30. So it's 7:30 at night and I'm at 1:30. So when it's 11 o'clock at night, I'm at 5 o'clock. So when the game's at 9:30 Sunday, my body, I don't know where my body's at. It's not at 9:30. And that's like 1:30, 2:30 German time. Right. So now it's Sunday afternoon when the game's being played, but it's 9:30 body clock time. They're not ready to play 9:30 body clock time. They'd be better off with a night game in the afternoon. I don't know what they're trying to do, thinking there's going to be an audience. Nobody's getting up at 9:30 to watch this crap. It's hard enough to watch at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock or Sunday night or Monday night, but nobody's getting up to watch it. Buff waited till Thursday to fly to London to play Jacksonville, and we see what happened. Well, keep in mind, Jacksonville was already there the week earlier, so they had got their body clock. If you wait till Thursday, you're not getting into Friday. You are not ready. You cannot handle the time change by Sunday. Are you kidding me? I can't believe they flew that late. I mean, if Kansas City isn't already there, then, if one of these teams left 2 days earlier, they'll win because they'll have a huge advantage because of the body clock and the travel. Let's not forget, it's a 7-hour flight. All right. Now, from Kansas City to Miami's got to be an 11-hour flight. Kansas City, let's say it's a 9-hour flight because I'm in Detroit going to Germany direct. So you go New York, you go ocean, you go, here's Europe, and you go down to Germany. So Kansas City's got to fly all the way, to New York, to over the Atlantic. Miami's already at the Atlantic, but they're down. They got to fly up to then get to the Atlantic. I don't know. Are these private things? Probably, I would think if it's a pro team, are they using private planes? I don't know. Maybe they are. I'm not really sure. It's funny how the owners will earn billions of dollars on the TV contracts and make them fly United or something. But I assume it's a direct flight. I mean, I could fly direct to Lisbon, or I could fly like I do, which is a lot cheaper, and I fly into Munich or Frankfurt. My flight to Barcelona, I flew to Philadelphia, got there at 1:00. We left at 7:00, and then we flew right to Barcelona. So there was no, you're making a stop somewhere. I just assume make it and go to Philadelphia and wait, and then go Philadelphia to Barcelona. I would prefer that. But when I went to Portugal, it was Detroit to Germany, Germany to Portugal. So I didn't mind that either. As long as it's just the one stop. I just hate when you go fly to New York and you got to go Kennedy and then you switch to LaGuardia. I don't even know how you get there. Do they shuttle bus you there? Do you have to pay for it? You need a cab? I mean, how do you get from one airport to the other in New York? What a bunch of crap that is. So I didn't mind the Philadelphia, and I certainly didn't mind. Now, Germany, Poland's really fucked because they'll make you go back through customs. And I don't know why, because you've gone through customs to get there. Like, you've flown Detroit to Germany. You don't get out of the airport. So if you've already been checked over and secure, why do you need more security there? I think that's just a way to get paid or something. But stay away from Warsaw if you can. But Germany, I don't know if Germany makes you, I think they make you go through the gate again and check your passport in Germany. Again, I don't know what they're doing because it's not a security measure. You've flown in and now you're just walking in from one gate to the other. It doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, probably chartered. Do they fly direct if there's a direct flight? I would think so. If I got if I'm a $1 billion company, I'm flying my players direct. I don't understand flying on Thursday for a Sunday game because you don't get there till Friday and you're not sleeping Thursday night unless you leave Thursday morning, which I've never heard of that. When you fly to Europe, you're leaving it in the nighttime. You're flying out at 7:00. You're getting there at 2:00 in the morning your time, which is 7:00 in the morning their time. You've lost that night. And if you're football players, you are not ready to play. There's no way. Yes, I've been to Moscow. I'm trying to get to St. Petersburg, but this war. Now, I'll bet you the war ends now that this war in Israel has started. But it'll be very quiet. It'll all of a sudden it just disappears, because if you notice the news and everything, it's war with Israel, and the war with Ukraine nobody talks about. So it's basically, how do we end the war with Ukraine without looking like idiots? Because the U.S. is idiots in this war. Why are they even in the war with Russia? So we're just going to leave and go to Israel. It's sort of like you're dating one girl and then you just start dating another girl and you just don't talk to the other girl anymore. She's like, "What happened?" And I'm with her now. So they're done with the Ukraine. They're going to Israel. So I'd love if the war ended today and then I could fly to St. Pete. It would be wonderful. Plus, I could fly to the Ukraine, which I can't do now because they don't have airports open. So I can't go to the Ukraine because there's no airport and they're in the middle of a war, which I don't want to be, with Jenna and worried about getting bombed on. So I've been to Ukraine a few times. It's fine. It's nice. But I'd rather, I'm not going to go in the middle of a war. Now, how severe is this war really? I don't know. I mean, she lost the bus station, but really they're not. Sometimes there's some bombings, but most of the time she's able to go to the bank and the grocery store and get her nails done. Now she's going out and meeting her friend for a drink. So I don't think they feel like this isn't Nazi Germany where the Russians are bombing them, the daylights out of them. So we will see. But that's what's happening. Well, you can't go to Russia. Uh, First of all, if I wanted to go to Russia, I would need a Russian visa, which I can't get because they're not giving visas to U.S. Then I couldn't get a flight in because you can't fly a U.S. flight into Russia. So not only can I not get a flight, I can't get a travel visa from Russia that will allow me in, and my money's no good there. So if I tried to pay for a hotel with a credit card, the credit card wouldn't be good. So a few minor things keeping me out. So I'm hoping when the war ends that they'll start allowing U.S. there. They'll start flying to there, and my money will be good there. But until then, even if I went, I wouldn't be able to survive. I guess I'd bring my silver and hope they take U.S. silver. But outside of that, no, they can't even go try to find a flight. You can't. The only flight that you can use is you can fly to Turkey and then in from Turkey, but they're not going to let you in without a Russian visa and a U.S. passport. So, so the thought is to meet in Turkey, where I can fly to Turkey and she can fly to Turkey, and she'll have the Russian passport to get back, and I can't. So basically, I can't get into the country because I have a U.S. passport. So if I had a Russian passport, I could just pretend I'm Russian, but I don't speak it. Very few words, and then, but my money wouldn't be worth anything. So that's the problem. So yes, there's restrictions. Good luck finding an airplane to fly you there. It's just check it out. Go on any site. You can't. They don't fly there. All right, so that's world travel. So watch this Israeli war and the Russian war. In the Russian war, don't make a mistake. It's U.S. versus Russia. Russia's winning 72-0. So the U.S. doesn't want to say that. So they keep trying to make it look like the U.S. is winning or the Ukraine's winning, and it's bullshit. Russia doesn't want to destroy the Ukraine because Russia sees it as like Moscow. This is our country. So Russia sees the Ukraine as a Russian city or country or part of Russia. They don't want to kill their own people. So that's why they're not bombing the hell out of it. And that's basically what's happening. So it's just, it's a shame. This should never have been. But of course, they closed all the airports in Ukraine. So I can't fly there. Jenna can't fly out. She's got to take a train to Poland to use their airport. It's a fucking nightmare what's happening there. It would be a huge logistics problem if they ever decide to put a team in Europe. Well, I don't know how you would do it. It's such long flights. You would almost need a team. It would be like the NFC West, right? Or you got LA, Frisco, Seattle, and Arizona. You would maybe have England, Germany, France, and Italy and maybe two other teams. So you'd have 6 teams in 6 countries, and they would all play each other. And maybe once or twice. I mean, what are you going to have? 8, you're going to have 8 weeks. So that's, let's say you'd almost need 8 teams. And you play them twice. I don't know how like the New York Jets are going to go and play Germany. Where they're going to have a home and home. I mean, they used to have that World Football League, which was Barcelona and Germany, but they just played Europe, and that was it. They never really got around to playing the U.S. teams, and there'd be a European champion, and that didn't work. You're going to have Green Bay play 4 or 5 games in Europe. Your players will be so screwed up from the time change and the flight. I mean, don't forget, not only is it the time change, it's the flight. you travel, let's say 7 hours to Germany. Not only is the travel, but then it's not 2 in the morning, it's 7 in the morning. So there's the acclimation of the new time you're in. It's a new time zone. Just look when we travel to Vegas or travel, like if I go from Detroit to Vegas or Detroit to San Diego, I'm wiped out. When I go to Vegas, let's say Friday night. I leave 7 o'clock. I get there at 8 o'clock, right? I'm exhausted because not only I was on the flight for 4 hours, but now the 3 hour time zone. So I'm exhausted from the flight. I want to go to sleep, but it's early. So I want to stay up till 11 or 12. And then it's 3 in the morning for me. And I go to bed and I wake up. I don't know what time it is. Am I waking up 7 o'clock Detroit time, or am I waking up 7 o'clock Vegas time, which is 10 o'clock Detroit time? And then when I fly home, if I leave at noon, I get home at 7 o'clock because it's 4 hour flight and I lost 3 hours of the time. And so that's the other. So, but you're tired of the flight itself. The time screws you up more because you're no longer your body clock right now, it says, is 1:48. But if I'm in Europe, my body clock's 1:48, but their time is 7:48. So it's all right. I'm eating dinner now. If I'm in Barcelona, I'm eating dinner. I'm on the beach eating dinner, and my body says it's 1:48. And then at 11 o'clock, when I should be going to sleep, it's only 5 o'clock. I'm not tired. By the time I get tired, it's already morning, so you're really fucked up. Plus you're fucked up from actually being in the plane flying, which takes a lot. And it's very hard to sleep. Maybe if you had a first class, or, some of these planes have beds and stuff, but normally you're sitting in the seat, your back's hurting you're really not sleeping. You're watching the movies, and you've lost the night's sleep, and so it's hard. You're tired after the travel. So I don't know how so Buffalo flew out Thursday. Believe me, Friday they didn't know what, they were exhausted. They were not on time. So by Sunday they were starting to get on European time. So 2:30, they're probably starting to get on Europe time 2:30, not 9:30 in the morning, here. But there's no way they're going to play a game. They're going to be mentally and physically exhausted. My Romanian girlfriend's been here. My Ukrainian one I invite, but she has 2 kids there. One's married, the other one's a teenager, and she doesn't want to leave them. I've invited her, and then when she bitches about money, I'm like, well, if you were here, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But she won't. My Russian girlfriend will come here. That's our plan, is she'll move here. But again, with the stupid war, we got to meet first, and then figure out what we're going to do and figure out where we're going to live. We might not live in America. I'd rather live in Switzerland, but we'll see. Jenna's got gold, my Ukrainian one. I bring it when I meet her. I give her 1/2 ounce here, and I give her some silver. I can't even give my Russian girlfriend gold because UPS and FedEx can't even go there. You can't do anything with Russia, so there's no business with Russia, right? So I can't send her. I can't send her money direct. I can't send her a birthday present, right, or gold or silver. So I have it, and she knows I have it for her, but I can't. So the Ukrainian one, I can, when we meet, here's some gold and silver. And I tell her, but wait until the price goes up, then you'll be fine. So that's where we're waiting. She's feeling a little bit, oh, I don't have money. And then I'm like, you do, you've got a ton of it. Just let it go. So she's poor for the minute, but then she'll be rich very, very soon. So that's the problem. I can't. I've been to Romania, and it's a nice city, and their prices are like 4.5 to 1 on the dollar. You go out for a nice dinner. It's so cheap there because the people are poor. So you really live well in Romania, or you live really well in the Ukraine with your American money. You got $100 buys you a ton, and they can't charge a lot at the restaurants or rent or a lot because the people there are pretty poor, so they can't charge $20 for a hamburger. At a nice place, they charge $4, $5. So you really take advantage in Romania, in the Ukraine. The problem with the euro is that you're actually paying. So it's $1 only buys you 95 cents, and then they get you on these exchange rates or these ATM fees. So you got to be careful with the ATM to find one that not an arm and a leg. But yeah, Europe's very nice. I like it. I prefer it over here. I don't really like the U.S. that much. It's so corrupt. It just, the women here are horrible. Not my cup of tea. Well, the reason that soccer's king over there is because they can't afford anything. See, if you think about it, soccer's easy. You buy a ball, and then 10 guys can kick it to each other, right? So the only cost is one ball. Football, you need equipment. You need a ball. You need equipment. You need goalposts. You need a big field. There is football in the Ukraine. I got a friend who plays there. Probably in Russia too, but basketball is easy, but you need a gym and you need a court. Where soccer, you don't need anything. You just need a field, and they kick it to each other. So it's a very cheap sport, unlike hockey. Hockey's in Russia because Russia's, is a subsidiary. The Russian government will pay for everything. That's why it's a big deal there. Notice it's in the communist countries, Czechoslovakia, Sweden. Russia has the hockey, and then, but you don't have baseball over there because they're not, it's expensive. You got to buy a bat and a mitt and a ball and have a field and, learn how to play it. Soccer, you just kick the ball. It's the simplest sport. I've been Cuba, and the dollar goes very far there. Well, that's the idea. Well, Cuba's communist, so it's a lot like Russia. So you could do well with the Cuban girls, and that's the thing. Your dollar goes a long way with the girls because they're like, oh, good. They're not stupid either. They understand the dollar and that role, and that's why I'm saying. But all the dollars are collapsing. See, the whole world's a scam because. Why is the dollar worth more than the euro or more than the Cuban or more than the Russian? It's different countries printing their dollars. If you had gold, you wouldn't have that. You would just have gold. Oh, it would be one price, and it'd be worth the same in Russia as it is here, as it is in China, as it is in Germany, and that would be, but see, the banks can't scam you where they'll charge you the ATM fee, they'll charge you the FX fee. They can't do that with gold. So they make a lot less money with gold, even though they're screwing it up and basically killing themselves printing the money. They don't get that you can't overprint the money. And this is really where absolute power corrupts. Imagine if you had the money and you could print as much as you want and nobody can tell you anything. So what do? You print and print and print. Gold doesn't allow absolute power because with gold, you can't print it. There's so much dug out of the ground, and that's it. And that's all that you can do, you can't print gold. That's why they don't like the gold standard. However, the problem is when they print the dollars, they don't have control. They're so corrupt, they just keep printing it. And they don't get that you can't just keep printing it. It will go to zero. Hey, Alex, how are you today? A lot of big games going this weekend, Alex. These college games, man, they're starting to get easy because it's like last week, the Oak State over and the UCF over, and I see them again this week. There's like yesterday, I had Duke under, and I'm going to play Ohio State under, UCLA under. They just line up for you, and they're just like, now most of them do what they should. Occasionally, there's an under that goes over and an over that goes under, but I'd say 8 out of 10 do what they're supposed to do. So I had Duke yesterday, and I had the Pittsburgh Steelers over because it got so low, went from 36 to 30. I said, screw it. I saw Levis. I don't know how good he is, but he looks like Purdy. He kind of knows where to throw it. And Pickett's playing better. So I said, I'm going to get some points. And they made it 36. I could go over 30. Not with, these aren't bad quarterbacks. So that's what I did. So I hope you're well, Alex, and let me know what I can do for you. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing in Europe, Prophet, is because it's all fixed game, the dollars have different values and different currency. So a Coke in Europe and a Coke in Germany and a Coke in Poland and a Coke in the U.S. and a Coke in Cuba are all different prices. And it's all coming to a head right now. So let's dig into college ball. So as of tonight, so we got 2 games tonight. We got Syracuse 2.5 and 50.5 over Boston College. Now this started at 7.5 down to 2.5. I wonder is the Syracuse quarterback out, which is what you would assume. And that's not the issue. Is the Boston College quarterback? There's no injuries. Maybe he's playing and he wasn't. Hard to say what's going on there. But we do notice the change. And then Wyoming 6.5, 42.5. Now this was 41.5, gone to 42.5. Wyoming, Colorado State. Colorado State hasn't been scoring like they were. So let's go to the first game. Boston College is an over. They give up 28. So their defense isn't very good. But they've been scoring. And Syracuse was scoring and played 4 decent teams: Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State, and got killed by all of them. So they're pretenders. They got an E team, and they give up 24 games. So the defense is probably right because they played 4 good teams. Do we take away? They probably played a high school team, so we probably it's probably like a 26. But Boston College is a good scoring team with no defense. Then we get to Colorado State, Wyoming. Colorado State's an over team with the 33 defense. Wyoming's an E team with the 26 defense. Wyoming's been, normally they're a defensive team that doesn't score a lot. And now they are more of a little weaker defense, and they're scoring more. Peasley, their quarterback, has been moving the ball better. So this over under 42 seems extremely low. Started at 44, went to 42. It really hasn't changed. I mean, I think it's a good overplay. I think Colorado State, now they've been struggling offensively, and I don't know why. They've lost a few running backs to injuries, but they still have their quarterback. And Wyoming has Peasley, who's been pretty good, and their defense is a 26. They did beat Texas Tech like 33-32. So at a 42, this seems very low unless there's snow, which I don't know the forecast. All right, those are tonight's games. I'm not really doing anything tonight. I'm so happy I won the Duke under, and I won a Thursday night game. I'm so excited. So now we get to Saturday. We got Tennessee 35.5, 55.5 to UConn. This is up from 52. So a lot of people, I don't know why you would think this would be high scoring. Tennessee's got a very strong defense. Connecticut's got a weak offense and a 30 defense. And Tennessee, we saw against Alabama. I think Tennessee kills them. I don't know if they get to 55. Now, in a teaser, maybe it's 49. You can go over. Maybe they get there. I don't know what you're going to get from Connecticut as far as scoring. I doubt they scored too much on Tennessee. They're not a high-scoring team anyway. But at Tennessee's going to light them up. 35's pretty big number. Hard to lay 35 against Connecticut, but I do like I've got the over circled, maybe 49, because Connecticut's 30 defense. I think it's all Tennessee. I think they put up 50 points, somewhere in that neighborhood. All right, Wisconsin 9.5, 45.5. This is actually up. This was 8.5, 44. Who'd be stupid enough to take a Wisconsin game without their quarterback against Indiana, who has no offense, and bet it from 44 to 45? I'm not sure who'd be stupid enough to take Wisconsin here on the road, going from 8.5 to 9.5, but I'm even more dumbfounded who would bet the game over. This is an under all the way. Wisconsin, the perfect, good defense, quarterback's injured, running back's injured, but he might play. Against Indiana, who doesn't score, and they give up 30, but Wisconsin really can't attack it. They don't have a quarterback, so this is an underplay only. I don't really see how in the world anybody would be stupid enough to bet this over. Wow. All right, South Carolina 15.5, 54 to Jacksonville State, our new kid on the block. This was 14. It's gone up to 15.5, 54. The total stayed. Jacksonville State's a good team in the Sun Belt Conference. They give up 18. South Carolina, I'm not sure they're an over team. They haven't looked over, and putting up the whole 12 against Missouri, you're not going to convince me they're an over team. They give up 32. This is probably an under game. Rattler. He's terrible. I mean, if you can't make it at Oklahoma, I'm sorry. That's the most primitive offense that is just a system. And you can see it. I mean, Kyler Murray, nobody wants. They don't even want to play him. They're playing O'Connell instead of Kyler Murray, who's ready to go. Well, we want O'Connell. But nobody traded for Murray. Nobody wants him. It's too big of a contract. I honestly, you paid Lamar all this money. You're way overpaying for these quarterbacks. I don't get it. Anyway, so I don't know what you do here because Jacksonville State, this is their first year in the bigs, and they seem good, but again, at an SEC team, they're not that good, right? You can't take them plus 21. Maybe, I don't know. They have a very decent defense. Maybe it goes over because they should be able to score on South Carolina. South Carolina will undoubtedly score on them. So a 54 over 48 probably, but I'm not jumping on Rattler. Ohio State, Rutgers. Ohio State's now 18.5. It's been 18, 42.5. It's been 43. I think there's only one way to play this. You got an A team, Ohio State with a 10 defense, Rutgers a B team with a 16 defense. You're not going to see a lot of points in this game. Ohio State hasn't given you a lot of points in any game. They got excited against Western Kentucky, which is surprising because they're a very good team. But that shows you what happens when you go out. This is like this Jacksonville State. I mean, Western Kentucky's good in conference. To get them against Ohio State, they're not that good where they can play Ohio State. They're that good they can play, Liberty. But a whole different thing. Rutgers has been good. I look at the Michigan game. They lost 31-7. I'm expecting that here. At Rutgers, their quarterback's kind of lousy, but they run the ball. They're probably going to try to run on Ohio State. But their defense is really strong, a 16 defense. So you got two strong defenses. Ohio State got so many injuries. They've got 4 wide receivers out. They still have Harrison. I don't know the name of the other receiver. Tight ends out. The running backs are hurt. The quarterback sucks. I don't know where you're getting a lot of points against Rutgers. So this is definitely a good underplay. Nebraska, Michigan State. We got Nebraska 3.5, 34.5. This was 36, 34.5. Now, I've been listening since I'm in Detroit. When I listen to radio, I was listening to the Michigan State coaches thing last night. And they're making this a big game because it's the kids, the seniors' last game. So apparently this is the last home game for Michigan State. And you know how it's senior night and it's the last game. They're all crying because they won't come out of the tunnel anymore and all that. So they do get hyped for the game. So I was wondering why this spread's so low. So be careful. Initially, I like Nebraska, figuring Michigan State's terrible. However, they've got the motivation. It's senior night and everything else. I had to retract that. 34.5, I think, is just too low. Although Nebraska seems to have this good defense. That's what Matt Rule must have put in, his defense. Michigan State's defense sucks at 28. Michigan State's a W. They don't score. They give up 28. The quarterback's out. They got this other kid who's a freshman, made his first start. Then his second start was against. First start was Rutgers. The second start was Michigan. Even when Michigan State was really good, they always had trouble with Nebraska. I don't know. This is a game I'm probably not going to touch. Like I said, I like Nebraska at first, but with this senior night, not that every senior night they win, because every team has a senior night, but I got to leave this alone. Over under 34 seems it seems low, but Nebraska's seems to be playing low scoring defensive games. So I almost think it's an under, but it's so low. I don't know how you can take it. These 30-point over unders are ridiculous. Florida 3.5, 49.5 to Arkansas. Where be Florida? Okay, this was 7. Wow. This has dropped to 3.5, but it went from 48 to 49. This doesn't make sense. If the Florida quarterback got hurt, then it should go down in total. Let's see if there's an injury. What happened here? Arkansas. Jefferson's not even listed, and no injuries on Florida. So something doesn't add up. It was like last night on the Duke game. It kept going down and down and down, and I assumed it was Riley Leonard, and I was right. Here, I don't know what to assume. I don't see an injury on the Florida side. Dropping it from 7, although there must be. Something must be cooking. I'll have to research it and get back to you. I always like Jefferson on Arkansas, but there's too many games I like that I'm going to dick around with this one. But yeah, Arkansas is an E team. They give up 23. Florida's a B team. They give up 23 also. So I'm thinking maybe an over. It was 40. The over was 48. It's now 49.5. So you can go over 43. Maybe not too bad. Neither defense is, the Ohio State's a 10 and Rutgers is a 16. Here you got both in the 23s. Florida did put up some points on Georgia. So I do think that this should be a higher scoring game. I do like it over. Jefferson's playing, so he'll get me some points. Although they haven't been that strong, Arkansas, like they were last year. So again, you get a new offensive coordinator, you get graduation losses or transfers of key players, and all of a sudden you're not the same team. And that's what you got to understand. Ole Miss and A&M, very good game here. Ole Miss went from 4.5 to 3. A lot of these big number changes. And 54 went down to 53. So the total hasn't changed. The line changed. Ole Miss and A&M, both teams are A. A&M's a 20 defense. Ole Miss is a 21. It's funny, the Spencer Sanders, the Oklahoma State quarterback, transferred to Ole Miss. He doesn't play. He can't. He's the quarterback from USC who transferred somewhere else is now at Mississippi. He's the starter. So really interesting that Spencer Sanders, instead of just staying at Oak State, where he was the starter, now they got Bowman. They don't need him, and off they go. So very interesting. I like A&M's defense here. It's a very close game. I think this is a dog game. I think this is tease the dog. A&M showed a lot against Alabama. They showed a lot against Tennessee. And Ole Miss didn't show up against Alabama. I'm still pissed at that. I had 13, and they missed the guy wide open in the end zone with a minute left. It still stings. So, yeah, I think this is tease the dog. Two close games. Texas 4.5, 49.5. To Kansas State. Well. We have Texas without Ewers. The backup quarterback sucks. And notice it's not Manning, which I was a little bit surprised. A versus A. Kansas State's an A that gives up 16. Texas is an A that gives up 16. We know Texas has a strong defense. We know Kansas State always has a strong defense. You can take K-State in 10.5, and you can go under 55.5. I think both are winners. I think this will be a close, low-scoring game because you've got the defenses, and you don't. The best part is you don't have the quarterback. Yours isn't there. The backup, I don't want to hear he was a 5-star in high school. We're not in high school anymore. This whole ranking 3, 4, 5 stars of what the guy did in high school is totally irrelevant. This is college. He's placing better talent. It's like a horse who goes against garbage. Then he goes up in class. So he wins here, and then he goes up in class for a better horse. Now he's racing Secretariat, and he doesn't show up. And that's what I think. These kids might be 5 stars, and then you bring them up, and they're 2 stars. So I don't buy the ratings. It all depends who it's like the Lions. The Detroit Lions suck, but because they play a bunch of shit teams, everybody's trying to sell them like, look how good they are. Look how they ended. Yet they didn't play anybody. The last 8 games of last year, they played one team, Carolina, and lost, who wasn't even that good. And then, they beat Green Bay because Rodgers didn't even want to play. The Bears sucked. So they didn't win against anybody good. That's why they were like 1-7 the first. They played New England, they played Philly, they played Dallas. They got killed. Then in the latter half, they got Green Bay twice, Chicago twice. They played a bunch of high school teams and they won. Look how good they are. Then this year, they play Carolina, Green Bay, and that. They're not very good. Then they play a good team in Baltimore and Seattle, and they get killed. So they're really not that good, but they look good. And that's kind of what it is with these quarterbacks. They look good against the bad teams, and then they move up into college, and they can't handle it. So anyway, Notre Dame and Clemson. classic game. Notre Dame 3.5, 44.5. This was 46 and maybe 45.5. Notre Dame's an A team. They got Hartman. You got to love Hartman. They got a running attack and a 15 defense. Clemson's a B team that gives up 21. It has lost 4 games. They have lost to NC State. They've lost to Duke. They've lost to Florida State and somebody else. I know they lost 4 games. They are a pretty good defensive team. Their quarterback I don't like. They're playing a lot of defensive teams. Florida State, they played them pretty good. And Duke got killed by Duke 28-7. They're just not scoring. 21 on Florida State. Last week, 17 on NC State. And I don't remember the 4th one. Anyway, I like Notre Dame, and then I like the under again. You got a 15 under and a 21, and Notre Dame's got the running. They're really not using Hartman the way they used him at Wake Forest. Bad coaching there because you got Hartman. This isn't every one generational player. I mean, this guy comes around every 20 years, and you don't know how to use him. This offense, I would not. If I was a good quarterback, I would never go to Notre Dame because if they can't use Hartman properly, I don't know what to tell you. So this game's either Notre Dame or the under. I think it'll be low scoring. I think it's just the way Notre Dame played Ohio State, low scoring, and the USC. Everybody plays USC high scoring, but even there was a lot of turnovers. Right, there was couple interceptions, and then the fumble at the end. The only reason that was a very low-scoring game, but you're not going to get that kind of game with Clemson. Clemson doesn't score a lot, and they have a pretty good defense. They want to run Shipley, who's questionable in the game. So if Shipley's out, this is a very strong Notre Dame and or under. This is like Kansas State. You play or you can play it under. Player's privilege. Virginia Tech, 1.5, 56.5. Virginia, Georgia Tech. Virginia, 1.5, 56.5. To Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, we know, is explosive. They give up 31 also, but they score 30. Very high-scoring team. Virginia is an E team who gives up 30. So they're starting to beat North Carolina. They switched to Muscat at quarterback, who seems to be better. This is 1.5. This is the same scenario. You can tease the dog. Georgia Tech at 7.5 is a good one. And or you could go over 56 to go over 50. Georgia Tech, 31 defense and a 30 defense, Virginia. See, this is why I get stronger once I've identified the teams. If we look at Ohio State Rutgers, it's a 10 defense and a 16 defense. And we know Ohio State played Notre Dame, Penn State, and Wisconsin, and they still give up 10. So we know their defense is for real. We know Rutgers played Michigan and a few others. Here we got Georgia Tech giving up 31. We know they played Miami and North Carolina. And the same thing with Virginia. I know they played North Carolina. So I've got a true read. I know they're giving up 31. There's going to be points in this game. There's not going to be points in Ohio State. So we can see we've got a read on the teams now, right? Excuse me. So in the beginning, we don't know. We can look at last year and we wonder if they changed. And what's getting us early, well, what gets everybody early is who is everybody? Well, we have a good idea of what Michigan and Ohio State are, and Alabama and Georgia, and Oklahoma and Texas, and USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, because they had the quarterbacks. So we have an idea of those teams early on. They probably didn't change much. It's the Georgia Techs. It's the A&Ms, what's with Clemson, what's with Virginia. These are the teams that we have to learn. And that's why I always get better as the season rolls on, because now I can sit there and go, oh, yeah, Georgia Tech's a 31, Virginia's a 30. We're going to get a high-scoring game. The over-under is only 56. Over 50. That's 27-23. We're going to get in the 30s in this game. We're going to get a 60-point game at least. We're only laying 50. And the same thing with Ohio State and Rutgers. It's a 43. We go under 49. Well, we got a 10 defense and a 16. And, fuck, Notre Dame with Hartman couldn't light them up. Penn State couldn't light them up. What do you think Rutgers is going to do? Or like last night, Wake Forest and Duke. Wake Forest is a 25. Duke's a 15. We've seen Duke hammer Clemson 28-7. We saw them play Notre Dame. They lose 21-20 or something like that. So we're seeing Duke with a killer defense. So to make that play under was easy, right? The line going from 12 to 6.5 was a bit much, but the under was very easy. And it turns out it was a 45 where it just wins at 41, but I had betted at 45 under 51. So I could have given up another touchdown and been okay. But you can see Duke's a 15 defense. Well, you would never guess Duke's a 15 defense. You could guess Iowa State is, and you could guess that Georgia's going to be a 15 defense, but you can't guess that Duke's a 15 defense. Where's that coming from? So that's what it is. Ohio State, they have not been a 16 defense or a 10 defense in a while. I'm salivating at that Michigan-Ohio State game. All I'm asking for, God, is give me a 52. And then I can bury the under 58. That's all I'm asking for. Ohio State's a 10. Michigan is a 6. You can imagine a 6 defense against a 10 defense. Now, we know Michigan is not real. Michigan is like paper gold. It's not real. They haven't played any team. The best team they played, in my mind now, is Nebraska and or Rutgers. 2 mediocre Big Ten teams. They haven't played a real team yet. Michigan State sucks. Next week, I do believe they play Penn State. But how much are we really going to learn in one game? Penn State didn't show up against Ohio State, so it'll probably be a low-scoring game. Will that really help us? Maybe. Then they get Ohio State. I don't know if they play Wisconsin or somebody else out of the East. I'm not sure. The West, whatever it is. There's really nobody there. They played Minnesota. They played Nebraska. I mean, this is the problem. So Maryland, I think they got to play Maryland, Penn State, and Ohio State. So they finally play 3. Penn State, Ohio State's really the best team. They're not number 1. No. Put them against Georgia. No. Georgia wins by 30. No. They're not number 1. Oregon beats them by 30. Washington beats them by 30. They ain't no number. Now with this quarterback, they can't run. And with this quarterback, they have a decent defense. But I guarantee you, Oregon, Washington, both have better defenses than Ohio State. No. And if Utah had Rising back, Utah would be better than them. Florida State's better than them. Georgia's better than them. I'm not quite sure about Alabama. We'll see with LSU this week, but that's where we're at. So by now we have a better feel. And where I get a better feel is the Marshall Appalachian State, both teams are over. The over-under is 55. That's where I really shine because nobody in the world can figure that game out except for me, that it's an over because both teams give up 30 points a game and they have good offenses, right? So that's where my gift comes in. Most people could figure out Ohio State Rutgers under or Duke under. You watch them against Clemson 28-7, you're going, yeah, this is probably going to be an under. But yeah, good luck on the North Texas State, Middle Tennessee. How are you playing that one, fellas? That's where we get into it. All right. Navy, 745.5. I'm trying to teach as I go, so I get off on a tangent. Navy 7, 45.5. I think this was 47. Navy's a U team. They give up 22. Temple's terrible. They're a Z team that gives up 38 a game. Can Navy take advantage of a team that gives up 38 with their offense? I don't think so. You want a Georgia Tech Temple. Georgia could take advantage and put up 50, but I don't know that Navy can. This is really a non-play. Maybe you take Navy -1, but Navy's not that good. They're not scoring. So you really don't want to bet a team that doesn't score as the favorite. All they got to do is win by 1. I mean, Temple could win the game, but their defense is terrible. But maybe that's against passing teams. And here you got them against Navy, who doesn't pass. So I don't know. I've kind of circled under in the game, but it's hard with the Temple, who gives up 38, to go under in the game. But that's about it. This is a game you just watch and try to figure out what the hell's going on. Well, no, I'm not going to dig through it. All right, Utah, 11.5, 39.5. This was 42. This is Borque for Arizona State against Barnes for Utah. Where's Cam Rising? What's the guy going to be out 5 years because he had knee surgery? And I don't like Alex Smith trying to say, oh, it's far worse than he thought. It ain't far worse than he thought. He practices without a brace. He's ready to go. If he was far worse than he thought, he wouldn't be able to play. So this is total bullshit by the doctor. They need to sue the doctor. But I would have the orthopedic from Utah, University of Utah, look at it. And if he says he's good to go, I'd be playing the guy. And I thought he did say he was good to go. Utah, what do you do with them? They're an under team. They give up 17, a killer defense. But it's hard when your quarterback sucks to keep going out there. With Rising, their defense would probably be a 10 or 11. Because when Rising's out there, the whole team's better. Arizona State, I don't know. They've been playing fairly well, fairly low scores. W team, maybe an E team, and give up 26. And in the Pac-10, 26 is pretty good. Between USC, UCLA, Oregon, Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, and now Stanford, the whole fucking conference scores 40 a game. So to keep it at 26, you got a pretty good defense. As you can see, this went from 42 to 39. I did like the under at 42. I still probably like it at 39. I don't understand the 11.5 here. I don't see Rising playing, so I don't know what's going on. It started at 10.5. Utah's quarterbacks are terrible. I just don't see them beating anybody like Arizona State by 11.5. I think Arizona State can win the game. I think it'll be low scoring. Again, with no Rising, it's just they're handcuffed because the team morale's got to be tough. Your best player, your number 1 draft pick, and he can't play. But he can't play because of the doctor. He's out there practicing, throwing the ball all around without a brace on, and then comes game time and he can't play. And you're like, he just practiced the whole fucking week. Well, what's going on? So it's really screwed up here with the doctor. Again, he needs to be sued and thrown in jail for more malicious attempts here to keep a player out that should be playing. So, that's how I see it. So I see probably an under here just because it's Utah. So you got a great defense with no offense. Where are the points coming from? Army and the Air Force, speaking of the Devils, Air Force 17.5. Holy shit, this number's down to 31.5. Wow. Wow. I'm still calling for a 20-0 Air Force win. Army should get shut out here. Air Force is an A team with a 13 defense. Army's an under team, which means they don't score with a 26 defense. Air Force, but they know each other's offenses so well that it becomes a low-scoring game. like I think Air Force Navy was like 20-0 or something. I don't see how Army can score. They got shut out last week by a decent team, nothing special. Air Force has a killer defense. So I love the game under. It's dropped from 35 to 31. I already played it at 35. But I'd still go under, but for a little bit less. But that's why I play these games on Sunday and Monday. As soon as I saw that at 35, I played it. I didn't realize it would go down to 31, but you know it's going to go down, right? I always know USCs are going up and Air Forces and these unders are going down. That's obvious. So as soon as I see the number, I already know what I'm going to do with it, right? I know Army, Navy, I'm playing under. The first line I see, I make my bet under because it can only go down. So if it comes out at 39, Army, Navy, under, I make a bet. I make an under bet immediately. Then by the end of the week, by game day, it's 35. And I get 4 more points, and it doesn't matter because they play a 10-7 game, and you win anyway. This one I'm calling 24-0 Air Force. Army won't score in the game. Air Force, pretty good. They'll figure out a way. Their quarterback, who I thought had broke his ankle, apparently didn't. Played last week. He's not injured this week, so I don't know what was wrong with him. Maybe it was a concussion. Got through protocol, but that's it. And what do you think of the Purdy concussion? Nobody's ever played when they've been concussed to go through protocol. How the fuck does he go protocol after a Monday night game and play on Sunday? Initially, I locked Cincinnati. I got Joe Burrow and Purdy's out. And then Purdy's playing, and I'm like, what? And the line goes from 6-3. I'm like, Jesus. But I was right. Cincinnati got the W because Joe Burrow is fucking the whole world. But that's what happens. So hard to understand that concussion protocol that he passed it. Anyway, go under in this game, Air Force, Army. I don't know how you can lay 11.5. I don't know. It's much easier to go under than start laying 11.5 with the Air Force. But Air Force, very good team. Lou Lafayette 7.5, 59.5 to Arkansas State. Lou Lafayette was 9.5. Heavy money going on Arkansas State. No, it's at Air Force. I think the only one is Army Navy. They play in Philadelphia, but no, this game will be in the mountains in Air Force. I don't know. Maybe there's snow coming. That's why it went down so much. But either way, no, it's at the Air Force. Lou Lafayette. So Lou Lafayette, they're on their third quarterback. Woolridge, their starter's injured, and he's out. Another guy got hurt. I don't know if he played or just got hurt. Anyway, they're the over team. They scored 20. They give up 27 a game. They score in the 30s. Arkansas State's a W team. They give up 34. I like Lou Lafayette -1 with the good offense against the shit Arkansas State defense. So it's hard to play a team with no offense to go over. The over is 60. Here, it's just far easier to play Lou Lafayette -1 than to fuck around with how many points. So it depends the type of teams. If you go over under, or or if you take like Notre Dame, Clemson, do you want to fuck around with Notre Dame +2.5, or do you want to go, let's just play the game under and just hope for no points? And if Clemson upsets them, we don't care, because we know there's not going to be a lot of points in the game. So that's how you determine, do you want to play the team or do you want to play the total? So in this case, I want to play the team, Lou Lafayette -1.5. South Florida, Memphis. Memphis is 13.5, 68.5, up from 66. The Sharps are betting on the over, as they should. This is over South Florida versus over Memphis. South Florida gives up 34. Memphis gives up 26. It's a big number, 68. South Florida, I mean, they're very balanced. They can run and pass, which I like. Memphis, fairly decent defense. I just think it's a high number, 68. But I'm scared to go to 7.5 with Memphis because South Florida could backdoor you, even if it doesn't go there. So 68 goes to 62. It's an over game if you want it, but I think it's a little high of a number. I'd rather find a lower number over game. Which leads us to this UTSA North Texas. UTSA 7.5. Frank Harris playing 71.5. Jesus Christ. Both are over teams. UTSA gives up 25 a game. Frank Harris is back. North Texas lights it up. They score 35 a game. They give up 37 a game. Good offense, North Texas. I'd rather play this game over than the South Florida Memphis, even though it's 71, because North Texas is going to put up 30, 40 points on them, and Frank Harris will put up 30, 40. This game should be in the 80s. The South Florida Memphis, I'm a little bit the South Florida keep up. Memphis has a decent defense. It's the same thing here. UTSA has a 25 defense, but North Texas can light it up. I don't see any way UTSA is going to stop them. So this is an over 71, 65. You just hope it gets into the 40s, which it probably will. UAB, Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic was a 2-point favorite. UAB is now favored and a 59. The total hasn't changed, but the line moved. Don't know what to say about that. Florida Atlantic's an E team with the 24 defense. They've had their quarterback's been out. Their backup's been okay. UAB, explosive team, gives up 38, no defense. We'd have to see what's going on with the injury, but let me just mark these. Bama, Michigan. All right. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one at a half a point. They have no defense, so they're not going to stop Florida Atlantic. This could go either way. So I'm gonna take a pass on it. Coastal Carolina and Old Dominion. As far as I know, Grayson McCall is out. Had a concussion. Coastal Carolina is 1.5, 50.5. I got Guest as the quarterback instead of McCall. He quarterbacked last week. Old Dominion, they're a decent team. So Coastal Carolina is a B team and a 20 defense. And Old Dominion's an E team with a 26 defense. But without McCall, is Coastal Carolina still a B team? Probably an under game because if you don't have McCall, you're not going to get the points. He's such a good quarterback. Old Dominion, they give up 26, so pretty good defenses. So 51, I can see under 57. All right, UCF, 4.5 down to 3.5. And a 59.5, up from 58. So this is a 58 over, is now 59. UCF's an over team. They score a lot and give up 30 a game and has a very balanced offense, good running and passing. Plumlee runs a lot from Ole Miss. He came from Ole Miss. Cincinnati, they haven't been scoring. There's a problem with them scoring. They've given up 32 a game in conference. So I got a little crossed them out going, no, they're not the same team in conference as they were against the high school teams. So I like UCF here, 3.5, because Cincinnati's really a 32 defense. They haven't been looking good. Maybe an over. But I like UCF more than I like the over in this game, which is weird. But they're a road 3.5, so you get 2.5 with UCF. They got the offense is so balanced, but both defenses suck. A 30 for UCF, a 32 for Cincinnati. 59. It depends what Cincinnati does. We look at them last week. Cincinnati last week. Did they even play? Now let's just look here. So my concern with Cincinnati is, yeah, they got killed by Oak State 45-13. They played Baylor 32-29. And then they played Iowa State at 30-10. So they're not scoring. They played Oklahoma 20-6. Against BYU was 35-27, and against Baylor was 32-29. So they're all there. A 13-29, a 10-27, a 6-24. You don't know what team you're getting, so they're not reliable. So again, Oak State killed them last week. That was my lock over, which I got. So they're at home. It's either UCF or over, but there's too many other games that are better. Florida State 21.5, 50.5. This hasn't moved. Florida State, number 2 team in the country, 2 or 3. I don't know. They're better than Oregon, Washington, and they're not better than Georgia. A team gives up 18. Pitt's terrible. W team gives up 28. Still getting crushed by Notre Dame last week. Tough. You played Notre Dame. You look like shit, and now you get Florida State coming in with your 28 defense. And Florida State's going to play tough defense on you. I like Florida State here to cover 15. I think they blow them out. Over under a 50, I have no idea, because Florida State with a real tough defense, Notre Dame and Pitt doesn't have the strong defense. So Florida State should score, but Pitt might not score like the Notre Dame. So that's why it's tough to go over under. And that's why you take Florida State, because they're going to score on the 28 defense, but Pitt's going to have a hard time against Florida State. Look for a few pick sixes. Florida State, they got to keep winning to get into the playoffs, because they're ACC. They lose, they get blown out. Then it's Washington, Oregon ahead of them. It's Michigan, Ohio State ahead of them. It's Georgia ahead of them, and they're out of the playoffs. So they can't afford to lose. Penn State, Maryland. Penn State 8.5. I don't know. I got it at 11 a couple days ago. 8.5, but 49.5. What the hell's going on? Again, the line moves, but the total doesn't, which makes no sense. Is there an injury? Penn State, no injuries. Maryland, a lot of injuries. Out. You got a tight end, you got a running back out, you got a wide receiver out. But you got no injuries to Penn State. Why is this game? Why did it drop 2.5? That's a whole lot of money. I'm going to have to go into my covers. So covers.com gives you another look at the injuries. Oh, I happen to be in Penn State. How about that? I was already there. Penn State, a wide receiver out. Another wide receiver questionable. Another wide receiver questionable. So they got a lot of wide receivers questionable, hurt. Running back hurt. Another wide receiver questionable. Another wide receiver out. Another wide receiver out. So is it all these wide receivers that are hurt? But why didn't the total go down? Let's go to Maryland. Maryland, wide receiver questionable. Okay, a linebacker's out, running back's out, wide receiver out, linebacker out, O-lineman out. Okay, so Again, why did the number drop? Was it Penn State's wide receivers that are causing it? But then why wouldn't the total go down? So I like Penn State in this game, especially now. I liked it at 11. I like it at 8.5. And then the total of 50, I kind of had it as an under because Penn State's got an 11 defense and Maryland's got a 20. So you got two fairly good defensive teams with apparently a lot of wide receivers out. And Maryland's not an A team. They just lost to Illinois 28-25. Penn State, okay, they lost to Ohio State, so they have to win. They got Michigan coming up. Just judging the way Maryland is and the way Penn State is, Penn State wins this game by 2 touchdowns easily. The game's at Maryland, but Maryland chokes. Tagliavua is like his brother. You put him in a big game, he doesn't show up. Maryland's always lost any big games. Especially with a good defense, right? They struggle against Iowa. They struggle against Michigan, Ohio State. What was that Ohio State score? Let's look at that one. And I would say that's pretty much what you're getting here. So Ohio State beats them 37-17. Illinois beats them 27-24, and Northwestern beats them 33-27. This is such a strong Penn State play here. 2.5. I'm scratching my head going, what's going on here? I don't see the quarterback out for Penn State, but the total is at 50. So if the quarterback's out, the total, like yesterday's Duke game, right? It went from 12-6 and from 45-41. Okay, it made sense. The total went down because it was a quarterback. What the hell is going on here that the total, the line goes from 11 to 8.5, but it's not the quarterback, and the total doesn't move? How do you just lower it to 8.5? Was the game fixed for Maryland? Okay, we'll bet a teaser then. You can't win by 11 is what it sounds like. So the line goes down to 8.5. We don't care. We're laying 2.5. Let them win by a touchdown. That's the beauty of teasers. It takes the fix into an account. So I love Penn State minus 2.5 here. You got to be kidding me. Wow. Next, Tulane, 16.5, 45.5. This is down from 48. Tulane's an A team, very strong. They're a top 10 team, especially with Bryn, the quarterback, playing. He was injured a few weeks, but he's back. They give up 20. They're the A team. They're the best team in the conference. East Car W team gives up 26. Got killed by Michigan, so we take that game out. They still give up 26. This went from 48 to 45, but the line didn't move from 16. Do we have an injury to Tulane? I didn't see one, and I just checked. But let's look again. Nothing. Nothing. So at this point, I like Tulane minus 10 against East Car. Tulane's just, they're the A team, and East Car's a W. East Car doesn't score. They won't be able to keep up. Tulane with an outstanding defense and a great quarterback, and they score a lot. So this is all Tulane. Just like Penn State, the difference is I only have to lay 2.5 with Penn State, which makes it even better. Tulane, I'm laying 10, which in college football is nothing, against a very bad team. So again, Tulane has to keep winning, and they're trying to win their conference, so they're not going to lose to East Car. So jump on Tulane minus 10. Jesus. All right, real strong game here. Louisville 9.5, 48.5 from 10. That hasn't really moved. Virginia Tech's a B team, gives up 23. Louisville's an A team, gives up 18. Beat Notre Dame, beat Duke. They struggled with like Indiana or something, so they're getting Bobby Petrino's he's Texas A&M. They get the new coach from Purdue, and they're not lighting it up, but they're actually got a good defense with an 18 defense. Virginia Tech's a good team. I kind of like Louisville minus 3.5 here, but it's, V-Tech's a B, good defense. This should be a close game. Over under of 48. The whole thing's hard to say because we saw them against Duke, very strong defense, 23-0. We saw them against Notre Dame, put up a 30 on that defense, and they just killed Notre Dame. So I think Louisville minus 3.5 is probably a good play here. Instead of fucking around with the over-under. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, they could 23-0 Duke you, although Riley Leonard didn't play, or they could Notre Dame you, where they put up 33 on Notre Dame. So I like Louisville minus 3.5. Iowa 5.5, 31.5. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's up from 30. Oh my God, it was 30. It's up to 31.5. Look at the heavy money's coming in on the over in an Iowa game. Iowa's an under team. They give up 14. They probably score 14. Northwestern's better, but their quarterback's out. Bryant is out. They're an E team. They give up 26. Without the quarterback, I like Northwestern if their backup's any good, which I don't know. Iowa 31. This has got to be a very low-scoring game. Iowa's better at home than they are on the road. As we saw, Penn State beat them 31-0. If the game was at Iowa would have won that game 31-0. So it depends where they play. Iowa, they did win at Wisconsin, a low-scoring game. I would bet this is low-scoring, but it's a 31. My God. I mean, 20-18, and you're beat. Northwestern doesn't have that good of a defense. So with the quarterback out, well, let's see if the quarterback's out or not. We know Iowa's quarterback's out, the Michigan guy. So we're really caring about Northwestern's quarterback. Okay. Northwestern. A lot of ends. Here we go. Bryant, the quarterback's doubtful with an upper body. That's what we're afraid of. Otherwise, wide receivers questionable. And then you got two wide receivers out and a tight end out. Well, as long as I'm here, Notre Dame's okay. So what do we got? What are we at? So Iowa Northwestern, without the Northwestern quarterback, who's been decent, and they've been throwing the ball 50 times a game. What I hate are these little wide receiver passes at the line of scrimmage. And you'll watch, and it's like 2-yard loss on a pass. You're like, what the fuck are they doing? So they're throwing along the line of scrimmage. It's the stupidest play. It never works. What are they doing? I don't know. Maybe it works for Oregon or Washington, but not any normal teams. I don't know. I would have to go under in this game without Northwestern's quarterback. If he played, I like Northwestern in 11. But in this case, I think it's an under. I mean, neither team has a quarterback. Iowa with a 14 defense. So that's how I would play it. All right. James Madison, 5.5, 53.5. They're the best team. James Madison's an A team with the 20 defense. Georgia State's a B team with the 26. Just got killed by Georgia Southern last week. Again, they played that one on a Wednesday. Now they're back to Saturday. These guys, their schedules are all fucked up. And for football, that's not good for the team to play Saturday and then Wednesday and then Saturday and Monday night. And, it's not good. They want to play every Saturdays when being a routine. They hate missing the routine. That's what these idiots don't understand, with all these TV contracts. They're fucking up the sport. So James Madison, they're the better team with the better defense, and they're laying 5.5. I like James Madison here. Over under, it's hard to play this over or under, maybe under 60, but I think it's just James Madison's better. Just take him. Illinois, Minnesota, 1.5, 42.5. Mini 1.5. This was 3. 42.5. Illinois is a W team, giving up 28. Minnesota has been an under team, giving up 22, although they don't look like one. They're pretty. They blew the lead to Wisconsin last week. The coach is ready to go into a diabetic stroke anytime now. He looks terrible. He's round. Oh, I feel so sorry for the guy. You know he's going to have. He's got diabetes and he's about to die, and you just sit there going, "What the fuck?" And the last thing you want in that condition is stress. Well, yeah, let's be a football coach. Okay, so you got 6 months to live. It's terrible. But what do you do? Minnesota 1.5. Terrible quarterback. Decent defense down to 22. I think this is a close game. I think you can take Illinois as the dog. Maybe you go under because the quarterbacks both suck. Illinois and Minnesota's quarterbacks suck. Although they did play Wisconsin 25-22 of 47. This is pretty close to what it is. So maybe you can go under 48. I think Illinois 7.5 might be a play. Houston, Baylor 357.5, down from 4.5. So a lot of strange plays, and it goes from 56 to 57. So the money's going on Houston and going on the over. Houston's an over team, gives up 33. Baylor is a E team, giving up 30. They're a W stat-wise because Shapen got hurt and missed a few games. Their backup wasn't good. He's back. They're starting quarterback, so look for them to score more. Look for them to light up Houston. You got a 33 defense and a 30 defense. Shapen back. Houston's an over team. This is 57. So if we go back to the Memphis, South Florida, where you got 2 over teams, but you got a 25 in Memphis, and it's a 68. You go here, and it's a 33 and a 30, and it's only a 50 defense, and it's only a 57. This is much more optimal than that game. That's what I mean. I only have to lay 51, and I got 2 over teams playing with 2 shit defenses. So, wait a minute. This, and I only need 57. I only need 51. You talk 28-24, and I got a winner with 36 defenses, 33 defenses. Yeah, I'll take that all day. All right, big game. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma 5.5, 61.5. The hottest team in college football right now is Oklahoma State. Beat Kansas State, West Virginia, and then last week Cincinnati. You can play Oak State. You can play the over. Oklahoma's an A team with a 19 defense. Oak State's a B team with the 24 defense, but starting to get hot. Bowman came in as quarterback's been lighting it up. I mean, you beat a good Kansas State team, and then you beat West Virginia. You put up 48 on West Virginia, who's got a pretty good defense. Oklahoma usually beats them in this game, but Oklahoma. So we look at the Texas game and we go, they get 19 defense, huh? And it was what, 36-33 or 33-30. So you gave up 30 to Texas. Oak State's got a better offense now. Then you played Kansas last week and you lost 38-33 to Kansas, who's got a tremendous offense, but not a great defense. So now you've got Oak State at home, the hottest team in the country, and you can get 11.5 or over 56. So that is the way to go there. Just think of them as Kansas. So Kansas put up, 38. I would think Oak State puts up somewhere in that neighborhood. And Oklahoma, against two good teams, Texas and Kansas, gave up in the 30s. So their defense isn't that strong. So I just think Oak State right now playing is hot. Bowman, the quarterback, looks good. I like the dog here, and or the over, and or both, and or. My Georgia team, 15.5, down from 16.5. And 55.5, down from 56, or maybe it was. Missouri's a B team, giving up 23. Georgia's an A team, giving up 14. Georgia's offense is just huge right now. Very strong. Love the quarterback. Brock Bowers is out. The backup looked pretty good. They can run the ball down your throat. Their defense can just crush you. Missouri has been super hot the last 5 weeks of all. They've scored 30 in conference, Florida and Kentucky and teams like that. You'll never hear this out of my mouth again, but I like the over in the game. I like Georgia in an over, not in an under. 55, you go over 49. The way these teams are scoring, just look out. I mean, Georgia, if they were going to shut out, they would have shut out Florida last week. They're just – let's look at Georgia, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky. The Florida and Kentucky games, right? So against Florida it was 43-20, and against Kentucky it was 51-13. So they're scoring they play a 64th Kentucky, who's got a good defense, a 57 with Vandy, that's what you expect, a 63 with Florida, you do not expect. This is an over game all day long here. And again, it's just a 55. Now, Georgia with the 14 defense, but against Florida, they put up 20-something. They're not stopping Missouri here. This is not their patented 28-0 game. Not this time. Missouri, Cook is a very good quarterback. We don't even talk about him as a first-round draft pick, but he should be. But I don't know what class he's in. I mean, he might be next year. What is it, Bright for Iraq for Georgia looks very strong. So when you got good quarterbacks, you tend to have high scoring. I just love this game over, absolutely. It's just – all right. Just very strong. I mean, it's the same as the Houston Baylor. All you need is 50, right? I need a 49.5 in this game. And Missouri's putting up 30 a game, and Georgia's playing 50, 60-point games. When we were betting Georgia under for the last 2.5 years, it was always they'd win 38-0. They were shutting everybody out. They're not doing that. So either teams are getting wise to the Georgia defense, understanding how to score on them, like Florida. And then we've got Georgia with their offense is a lot better than with Stenson Benson there. So you just over 49. I mean, this is Missouri, who's a damn good offense. So, yeah, this should get over 49 easily. I'd be shocked if it doesn't get there and Georgia does a 31-0, fine, but I'd be shocked by it. Their defense is a 14. When they were really hunting, their defense was a 9 or 10. I mean, they weren't giving up 10 points a game. Charlotte and Tulsa. Where are you? Tulsa, like, this is depressing to go from Oklahoma and Georgia to Charlotte, Tulsa. Tulsa 3.5. Let's look at it this way: 3.5, 47.5. This has gone down from 50 to 47.5. Charlotte's an under team, give up 25. Tulsa's a W. They don't score a lot and give up 36. 3.5. I don't know about over under. I have over circled at 50, so I must like over at 47. I just find when you have weak defense, so let's go back to this Kent and Akron game on Wednesday. They're both Z teams. Kent gives up 33, Akron gives up 30. So these are teams that don't score with weak defenses. The over-under was 41. They played a 31-27 game. They played a 58 because when you have bad defenses, even though you don't have good offenses, the offense can score on a weak defense. And I think that's what you have here. Tulsa's a 36. Charlotte's a 25. They do play more. They're more of an under team. So, but I think Charlotte scores on this 36 defense. Tulsa probably scores. So, yeah, I like the over, and especially down to 47. I like over 41. Even though Charlotte doesn't have much, I think they'll score on this weak defense of Tulsa. I think if you see the weak defense, you will score on it. I mean, these teams play strong. You play Notre Dame, you're not going to score. You play USC, you're going to score a lot. We haven't even ventured into the Pac-10 yet. We're still in we're in the Big 12. Southern Miss, 3.5, 56.5. Against UL Monroe, Lafayette Monroe. Lafayette Monroe is a Z team, giving up 33. Southern Miss, a W, gives up 40, 56. This to me is an over also. Even though neither team can really score, the defenses couldn't stop a high school team. UL Monroe, Southern Miss, 33 and a 40. Yeah, I mean, it's the only way you can play it. Maybe you play UL Monroe because Southern Miss probably has the worst defense in the country at 40. How do you give up 40 points? Who's your defensive coordinator? Jesus. So, yeah, I think you just go over on principle, but hardly a game I would look at. Auburn Vanderbilt. Auburn is 12.5. Yep. And 49.5. Okay. This hasn't moved. Vanderbilt's the over team. They give up 34, but they score a lot. Auburn's an E, gives up 22. Play Georgia 27-20. I like Vandy in 19 here. I just think Auburn doesn't score that much. And Vandy with now getting 19, they do score. They give up 34, but I don't think Auburn can do much. I see 50, so I also like the over in the game that Auburn can score, Vandy can score. They played Georgia pretty good, so I think they played them to a 70. So yeah, I like this game over. Hawaii, Nevada. What is going on with Hawaii? They lose 35-0 to San Jose State with a 33 defense. Hawaii, I thought, could have a defense, but it doesn't. Nevada, 3.5, 50. The line hasn't moved. Nevada's a Z team, but they've been playing weird games. They beat San Diego State 6-0. Where the hell is that coming from? They give up 32 a game. Hawaii gives up 36. How do you shut out somebody with a 32 defense? No, thank you here. I'm just going to let this just – I don't know. Maybe you take Nevada because Hawaii has to travel from Hawaii. I don't know. We got better fish to fry here. Very good game. Texas State, 2.5, 68.5. Where is it? Texas State, 2.5, 68.5. Oh, Georgia State was favored. And it went from 72 to 68. So this sounds like Georgia Southern's quarterback got hurt. No, the running back is Texas State. Let's go to my other. All right, so let's see Georgia State. Georgia Southern? Georgia Southern. Nothing. I got a running back question. Well, what the fuck's going on with this game? Texas State. Nothing. There's nothing going on in this game that would warrant a line change like this. So Texas State 2.5, 68.5. So let's look at the teams. Georgia Southern's an A team, give up 25. Just killed Georgia State last week. Texas State's an over team, gives up 29. Very explosive. This is absolutely a Georgia Southern getting 8.5. I think it's the way to go. They're the better team with the better defense. Maybe you go over, but it's a big over 68 with the team with a decent defense. But they played over last week. 44-27 to Georgia State with the 23 defense. So that's a 71. I think you'll get more than that here. Yeah, this is definitely an over 68 with these teams. Cal and Oregon. I don't believe this spread. Oregon is 24, hasn't moved, 59.5. Up from 58. So it's over went up 1. I can't believe Cal's getting 30 points in this game. That's ridiculous. Oregon's good at home. They got a good defense. However, like I said, we look at the Washington game. Let's look at Oregon. Let's dissect them. So against Utah, you can't count. They don't score. But look at the Washington State game. 38-24. Look at the Washington game. 36-33. Now, yes, against Colorado, 42-6. And Stanford, which I don't know. Let's see if they changed quarterbacks then. Stanford. Yeah, see, Stanford didn't have the quarterback change. They went to Daniels, and now they're scoring. So they didn't use Daniels in that game. So for a great defense, they gave up 36 to Washington, 24 to Washington State. You can't count Utah. They don't have Rising. So 35-6 there doesn't count. Yeah, they beat Colorado 42-6. That's the only thing. And then Texas Tech 38-30. See, here's where you get skewed is they beat Portland State 81-7, which goes into their stats. So you got to take off 81 and just divide it by less. But if I just let's look at the last 5 games, you know you're going to get 40 points from Oregon. They did it 33 on Washington and Washington State with pretty good defenses, and 35 against Utah, which has a killer defense. And then they gave up 6 to Colorado, 6 to Stanford, again, 36-24, and then 6 to Utah. So you throw Utah out with no offense. You see the 24 and the 36 against Washington State, Washington with good offenses. The 6 by Stanford, they didn't change quarterbacks, and the 6 by primetime just got out coached. So I'm looking at the Washington State. And I'm looking at Cal, Cal has got an offense. They don't have much of they're a 33 defense. So I'm loving Oregon to score a ton, but I'm loving Cal to score a ton. 30 points? Are you telling me that Oregon's 30 points better than Cal? You're out of your mind. There's no fucking way that can be close. So you can go take your 30 in Cal. or you can go over 59, which is 53, when you know Oregon's going to put up in the 40s. And if Cal chases them, you know you're going to get an 80-point game here. So Cal is a very strong offensive team, as they showed you last week against SC. Granted, we know SC can't stop a high school team, but in this case, absolutely, Cal in 30 points. There's no way Oregon's beating Cal by 30. Oh, what do you think Cal is? Cal is not, Temple. They're not the Navy. I mean, this is a very strong offense with a very strong running attack with Ott and a good head coach. So I don't know what the hell they're thinking here. I wouldn't take Oregon minus 18 if you bet it for me, and I won if I won, and you paid if I lost. I would not take Oregon minus 18. This is totally a Cal plus 30 and or over 53. Think about it. 53. Give me Oregon with 43, and I need 10 points from Cal. Did they not just play USC to a 99? I mean, they scored 50 points. Okay, granted, it's USC, not Oregon. I understand that, but there's no fucking way. This is an explosive, high-scoring team. They showed it against Oregon State, playing them to an 85, who's got a very good defense, much like Oregon. Do I have Oregon State here? Yeah, Oregon State's got a 21 defense, right? Oregon's got a 16 defense. Okay. So let's take out that 81-7 game, so it's maybe an 18 defense. Absolutely love it here. So Cal's going to score. And if I get 20 from Cal, I know I get 40 from Oregon, which puts me into the 60s, and I got a 59 that goes down to 53. I mean, you got to love the Pac-10. It's all overs except for Utah, UCLA, and Arizona. It's all over. Maybe Arizona State. Otherwise, most of these teams over. All right. Marshall, App State, 3.5, 55.5. There's so many games. I might have Alex. We could play a 25-team teaser, and I have a good chance of winning it this week. Every week, the planets. Every once in a while, the planets align, and it's like shooting fish out of a barrel. I mean, wow. All right. App State 3.5, 55.5. We got an over team in Marshall, gives up 28. We got an over team in App State, gives up 31, and we got an over under of 55. Yeah, I think this is another over here. Although what checks me out is Marshall the last few weeks. Coastal Carolina, they lost 34-6 and 20-9 to James Madison. Something happened. They put up 41 on North Carolina State and then 6 on Coastal Carolina. Let's check what happened. Fancer was the quarterback against NC State. Fancer was the quarterback last week against Coastal Carolina. When he threw 2 interceptions, Pennington threw 2. So a lot of interceptions. So I don't know. Hard to understand what's going on with Marshall because they put up 49 on NC State, and then the last 2 weeks. So let's scratch this one because we don't know. Maybe it's an App State play, but that's why you dig into the micro. Hey, Greg and John, where have you been? Liberty 15.5, 58.5. To L Tech. L Tech's the over team, gives up 27. Liberty is an A team, gives up 21. Liberty runs the ball well. It's very balanced. Minus 16, 15.5, 58. Yeah, probably an over. L Tech seems to score a lot. But let's go into L Tech, see who they've beaten. New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky 35-28. Nebraska 14-28. Here we got Liberty. Liberty's at 21. Yeah, probably stay away from this game. Titan was good play with the teaser. I had the game under or over. I actually went over 30, and I had Duke under 51. So I actually hit Thursday. Games. But yeah, Levis looks okay. Pickett's improving a lot. It's only been 2.5 years for Pickett. But yeah, he's starting to look like a better quarterback. He's still nowhere near Burrow and Mahomes and Herbert and those guys, but he's okay. It took Terry Bradshaw 5 years before, and he still sucked. He was a terrible quarterback, Bradshaw. They won despite him, not because of him. All right, New Mexico State 3.5, 55.5. Against Middle Tennessee's an over team that gives up 33. New Mexico State's a B team that gives up 21. I like New Mexico State here. They're our team. Pavia, a quarterback, 3.5. We get 2.5 and or 56, over 50. Either way there. Vegas and New Mexico. Again, this is another over team. Let's see. Vegas 11.5 and 60, up from 10.5. They're both O teams. Vegas gives up 27. New Mexico gives up 33. Go over 54. I mean, it's just laying on the platter for you. West Virginia 12.5, 48.5. This was a noon game. Has been moved to 7 o'clock. 12.5 up from 9, and 48.5 down from. So it sounds like the BYU quarterback's out. That's what would make this movement. This movement makes sense if he's out. I don't see it. Let's go into my other covers. Ah, yes, exactly. Slovis is out, undisclosed. Wide receiver probable with a hamstring. Another one's questionable. Merton questionable. Running back. So interesting. Slovis is out. And see, we didn't even need to see that. We knew the line went from 51 to 48, and the line went from 9 to 12. Now BYU's an E team giving up 26. West Virginia's a B team that gives up 27. I think West Virginia kills them without Slovis. Slovis is a good quarterback, but without him, West Virginia should kill them. I mean, it's just they're much better at home than when they go to Texas. So I look for them to really light it up. They still might go over. So if BYU doesn't score, then take West Virginia minus 6.5. This is why we look at the lines daily. San Diego State, Utah State. Utah State 2.5 and 57. Utah State's an over team, gives up 34. San Diego State's a weak team. W gives up 28. I like Utah State here, plus 3.5. They're just a really good team. San Diego State, I mean, they lost to Nevada 6-0. Like, what the fuck was that? You can't bet it over because you're not going to get much from San Diego State, but their defense sucks. Utah State's defense is a 34, but San Diego State's not an over. If they were playing Vegas, this would be an over. If they were playing New Mexico, this would be an over. But they're playing the one team that doesn't score that much, so you got to be careful with them. Okay, here's your free play. Kansas, Iowa State, 2.5, 52.5. Free play, take Kansas and 8.5. This is a joke. I mean, this is I don't know where they're getting this line from. Kansas injury. Well, they don't have the injuries updated. I saw Bean get a little banged up last week, but they don't show him as injured. I keep looking and I keep waiting. Oh, Bean's got a concussion, but it doesn't show up. I don't understand this line. Kansas. Daniels, their quarterback's doubtful. I don't care. Bean is who I bet on. He's the backup quarterback who's better than Daniels. Good passer. Not a problem here. Good offense. They are not going to get blown out by Iowa State. They just beat Oklahoma. What am I missing here? They beat Oklahoma 38-33. They're going to get blown out by Iowa State? You got to be kidding. This is your free play. Good luck. Enjoy. My free pro play is take Seattle against Baltimore. You get 11.5 with a road dog that's 15-2. So I like Seattle 11.5. They'll handle Lamar. You got Coach Pete. And with Kansas getting 8.5, this is a fucking joke. I don't get this at all. You got to be kidding me. So if they want to give me, if you want to give it to me, I'll take it. How can Kansas get blown out by Iowa State? They just beat Oklahoma. Will they be flat? I don't see how they'll be flat. It'll be a little flat maybe, but Iowa State's not going to kill them. They don't have a good deal. They're an under team when they give up 20. Oh, well, okay, that'll be a problem. Oklahoma was giving up 18. They didn't have a problem scoring on Oklahoma. So this is just, this is a thank you, God moment. Like, are you seriously giving me Kansas in 2.5? Am I the only one who realizes how good Kansas is? I called that upset, and I don't even think it was an upset last week. They were getting, 9 or 12, and I took Kansas, and they won the game, and I wasn't even surprised. I thought they'd win the game, and I think they're going to win this game. Jesus. All right, boys and girls, here's your game of the week. Washington is now a 3-point favorite over our USC, and the over is now 76.5. Well, you've left my area code with this. Washington, an A team with a 25 defense, 36-33 to Oregon, 69. Here comes USC. We know how strong their offense, their defense sucks. They give up 33 a game. They played a 100-point game with Cal last week. The only thing that scares me is Washington's got a pretty good defense. So maybe that leads to a few field goals. Washington's going to score 45 points in the game. USC maybe gets held to 30. It's still a 75. There's no way this game doesn't go over, and I like Washington in the points. There's no way they're losing. So Penix will light it up. Williams will light it up. But Washington has the better defense. They could kind of keep the score low if they, I love when the coach gets creative. Oh, yeah, we got the best offense. We're going to run to keep the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands. And that's the only thing that could ruin this over, but this is definitely over. I like Washington in 3. I think that's a joke. All day getting, they got the much better defense. And as you can see, USC had trouble with Cal. And again, this is a extremely high total to play. You got to be very careful here. You're going to lay 70.5. That's a lot. You get 3 drives that end on 4th down at the opponent's 10-yard line. You don't get it, right? So they drive all the way down, run the clock. They get to the 10. It's 4th and goal, 4th and 2, and they don't get it. Your over's fucked. If it happens 3 times, your over's fucked because it runs the clock. And I got a feeling Washington's going to do a lot of let's run the clock, and so be careful here. SMU Rice, wow, SMU's up to 12.5 from 10. 58, total didn't move. SMU's a very strong team this year. 14 defense. When have you ever heard SMU being a 14 defense? Rice, an over team, gives up 28. This is an over. Rice can score. They got the old USC quarterback, Daniels, went from USC, got beat out, went to Georgia, got beat out. Now he's at Rice. So he's finally at a place he doesn't get beat out. He's looking pretty good. He'll get you points. SMU's just very strong, very good defense. So, but the buyer beware. Kentucky and Mississippi State. Kentucky 4.5, 45, up from 3.5. So money going on Kentucky. The defense, Kentucky at 25, Mississippi State at 26. They've had quarterback. Will Rogers has been listed questionable for a couple of weeks now with an arm. I don't know what's going on with him. Kentucky 9.5. They got crushed by Georgia and Missouri. It's all Mississippi State's quarter. If he's healthy, this is an easy over. But if he doesn't play, this is probably more of an under or more of a Kentucky play. Michigan 32.5, up from 31, and 52, up from 48. Wow. I guess when I talk, people listen. Michigan being a 6, so Michigan's an A team with a 6 defense, which is highly doubtful with the competition they've been playing. Purdue's a W, gives up 30. Michigan's going to light them up. Michigan will win 47-0, like they've been doing. They've got a little wrinkle in their offense. I just assume take Michigan here, lay the points. I do like the game over, but now that it's 52, I don't like it as much over. They're almost making it an under because you're not getting anything from Purdue. At most, you get 7 here. That's it. So at 48, it was maybe under, but 42, I like it over. At 52, I now like it under 58. I liked it over 40, 42, because I think Michigan's going to score in the 40s. But now it's 52. You need them to get to 40 because you're not getting help from Purdue here. So I just assume take Michigan minus 26 and let them win by 40 and not worry about this is not an over-under thing anymore. This is watching Michigan win every game by 40 until they play a real team like Penn State and Ohio State. So again, Michigan's not that good. They haven't played anybody. It's the Lions. Alabama and LSU. Alabama 361.5. LSU, a strong over team. They score a ton, give up 27. Alabama's an A team, gives up 16. Pretty good defense. We've seen the teams getting it. Tennessee got 20. A&M got 20. Texas got 36. So Alabama's pretty good defense. But I think LSU is going to score a lot on them because they scored a lot on them last year, and they had a better defense this year. I think they know how to attack Alabama. Brian Kelly, good quarterback for LSU. I like the game over 55. I think you get into the 60s here pretty easily, which is 33-30. I don't think that's that hard to get to. They've been in they've been in the 30s with Texas and last week with Tennessee. So I really don't think LSU. It should have been more. It should have been twice Tennessee at first and goal and got field goals. I don't think that's going to happen with LSU. I think they get first and goals, they get touchdowns. So I think this, as far as taking a team, I think this is revenge. So I think you got to take Alabama here if you want to get 3 points versus LSU and 9. I just think, I think it'll be a high score. I just don't see Alabama just putting away LSU either. I think Alabama wins it close, and I think it'll be in the 60s. Miami and NC State. Oh, Miami. Poor Van Dyke. He's got such shitty coaches. 5.5, 43.5. Miami's an A team, gives up 20. NC State's an under team, gives up 23. I think you got to go under 44. Love Van Dyke. Their coaches are so bad. Will they take a knee at the end of the game to win it? It's beyond. These coaches are incompetent, so there's nothing else you can say. They're clearly incompetent. So hard to bet on them as much as we like Van Dyke. The play calling's been horrible. Van Dyke throw interceptions on really terrible play calls. Either that or the other teams know the plays. I mean, they're doing a Michigan where they do the signs and then they know exactly what they're running and they're playing the defense for it. Something just doesn't add up, but you need to fire the coaching staff at Miami. They're incompetent, basically. You don't not take a knee if you know what you're doing. Enough said. So in this case, I like it under 44-50. NC State's pretty good defense. Stanford, Washington State, 13.5, 59.5. Stanford changes quarterbacks. They're lighting everything up. Over team with the 38 defense. Washington State's an over team with the 31 defense. Stanford 19.5 is a winner, and I think over 54 is a joke in this game. Definitely go over. Again, two explosive teams, and it's only a 60. Why go to USC at a 76? They got to get 70 points. When here it's 60, all I need is 54. Now I catch the quarterback change. Daniels is in. He's been lighting it up the last few weeks. The Colorado game doesn't really count, but let's look at last week when they played a pretty good team, right? So against Colorado, it doesn't matter. But against Washington, a 42-33 against Washington, that's some serious shit. 46 against Colorado doesn't mean anything. They don't have a defense. Now they played UCLA 42-7. UCLA put pressure on them. Will Washington State put pressure on them? That's the question. 42-6 to Oregon. But then they changed quarterbacks. So 46 on Colorado, 7 on UCLA, 33 on Washington. That's what I'm looking at. Washington does put pressure on you. So look for Stanford to definitely get some scores. Hopefully they figured out, like when UCLA puts pressure on them, but UCLA gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So we like the game over. Western Kentucky, 9.5, 54.5 to UTEP. Western Kentucky's an over team. Give up 36, I believe, or 30. UTEP's a Z team, gives up 27. So UTEP just doesn't score. So I like Western Kentucky -4 here. Oregon State, Colorado. Now we know Colorado against a good defense, they don't show up, and against everybody else they do. Oregon State 13.5, 61.5 is the total. Now Oregon State is deceiving. They're really not an A team. They're really an over team because they really give up 30 points a game in conference. Colorado, we know, is an over and gives up 35. We got to go over in this game. It's 62. We got a 30 defense and a 35. So over 62 is 56. Again, it's a much simpler owner. You only need a 30-point game, which is like 31-30, and you're in, which is not a lot for Colorado to do, and Oregon State. They're both explosive. Boise, Fresno State, 2.5 and 53.5. Boise gives up 28. They're an over team, gives up 28. Fresno's the A team in the conference, gives up 20. Mikey Keene, I believe, is playing. I got an over 54 here because Boise can score, but they don't have much defense. Fresno A. So look for. Yeah, I like Fresno in the game. I think they're the better team at home. And last but not least, UCLA, Arizona. UCLA 2.5, 50.5. And they're the A team that gives up 15. Strong defense. Like I said, they held Stanford. A lot of pressure on the quarterback. Arizona's a B team with the 21 defense. Played USC 28-28. They beat Washington State 41-7. This is a strong defensive team. This is the one under in the Pac-10. So you go over Oregon State, Colorado, Washington State, Stanford, USC, But then you get here, and this is the strong defense in Utah. These three are the strong defense. So that's why it's important to understand: who are you betting on? Titans was a good play, yeah. Greg, who do you think in college right now will be a future good NFL quarterback? Well, I mean, we've gone through this. I think Van Dyke, Miami, and Hartman at Notre Dame are the top two. Cam Rising at Utah, once he's healthy, he'll be a superstar. Penix and Nix will be very strong. Caleb Williams, it's a system. It'll be like Kyler Murray. I don't know. I mean, the new kid at Stanford, we got to see more, and the kid at Cal. Your Gabriel at Oklahoma should be good. The kid at Tulane, Bryn, should be very good. Travis at Florida State, I think, can be. I mean, he's better than half these idiots in the pros right now. The Big Ten's pathetic. The Georgia kid looks really good, but he's a freshman. Not the Alabama guy. Jefferson, I think, will be good at Arkansas. Those are probably your top 10 right there. And the problem is that the pros have no fucking idea. They want to go to these dual option type of running quarterbacks. As you can see, I'm reading the names of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and you got Will Levis against Pickett. They couldn't start in the Pac-10. Tagliabue and Mahomes, okay. Hall against Heineke. They couldn't start in the Pac-10. Geno Smith and Lamar, all right. Tune against Walker or Watson. All right, I don't know if it's P.J. Walker against Tune. They couldn't start in the Pac-10. We'll see if it's Stanford. Love could not start in the Pac-10. Mayfield against Stroud. Stroud started at Ohio State, but that was okay. Howell against Jones, Washington, New England. They couldn't start in the Pac-10. The grocery clerk against and Carr. Well, Carr was good at Fresno State. The grocery clerk played Division II. Minshew against Young. Okay, Minshew played at Washington State. Young at Alabama. Okay. Giants. Jones against O'Connell. They couldn't start in the Pac-10. I mean, Jones barely played at Duke, and O'Connell was terrible at Purdue. Prescott against Hurts. Well, we saw Hurts couldn't play at Alabama, went to Oklahoma and and really didn't do anything, just ran around. Allen against Burrow. Well, Burrow, we know, superstar. And Herbert against Zach Wilson. Wilson was good at BYU. Herbert was at Oregon. So, I mean, look what you got in the NFL. So when you ask that question, it's so there's so bad quarterbacks. It's just I don't understand it. How they sit there in Arizona. Okay, Murray's injured. You go with Clayton Tune. Green Bay, to have Jordan Love as your choice and then wonder why you suck. You couldn't spot that he sucked at Utah State his senior year. You didn't see that. What do you think he's going to be? He sucked at Utah State. I don't get it. Daniel Jones, the Giant. What the fuck was that? Oh, he went to the Peyton Manning camp. That's where the grocery clerk went, to the Peyton Manning camp. So Peyton Manning is now the general manager. If you went to his camp, you automatically get drafted in the pros. What a bunch of horseshit that is. So people will sign up to go to his camp to get drafted, and they suck. Are they not teaching how to read defenses? What a joke that is. So the whole thing is a joke. It's going to the Peyton Manning camp gets you drafted so you can suck in the pros. So as you can see, there's so many bad ones. So the list I gave you all are better than these quarterbacks, especially Hartman and Van Dyke and Rising. But that's what we got. So going through the games, your free pick is Kansas over Iowa State. I do not understand. And then you've got the Coach Pete, Seattle getting 11.5 over Baltimore. I guess everybody thinks Baltimore plays Detroit every week. Or what they did to Detroit, they're going to do to everybody else, but they didn't do that to Arizona, did they? They won by 7. You cannot lay more than a touchdown in the NFL, very, very rarely. This week, so keep in mind, all right, so Pitt won 2016. We hit the over 30. I mean, if they're going to make them that small, that shows you how bad the quarterbacks are. Miami KC, again, remember, is in Germany, and this is yesterday's line was 1.5 and 50. And this is really a mind bend because Miami does not play good defenses well. Miami does not play big games well. Tagovailoa has been choking since college. KC's got a 16 defense. I do not look at Miami to just walk up and down the field, but I think Mahomes will do well because of the weak defense for Miami. My only concern is the travel, the jet lag, the time zone change. Maybe Mahomes is smart enough and Kelsey and Reed to figure that out. I doubt Miami's smart enough. That would be the only thing is that, Mahomes should light up this defense more so than Tagovailoa lighting up Kansas City. Why do they draft these quarterbacks? Because you've got idiots for GMs. What can I say? So when you look at it, Minnesota drafted Hall this year. Henneke was on Washington. So why did they draft Riddler? Riddler was nothing at Cincinnati. Why did they think he was any good? Then you got Arizona using Tune while they have Murray, so he's injured. Cleveland's got Watson. I don't know why they thought he was any good. Walker's just a backup. Stafford, why they got Love at Green Bay is beyond me. That I never understood him a first round. Maybe in the 8th round you'd take him, but not in the first round. Mayfield came over because they got Brady and he retired. Stroud, I don't know. That's scratches my head. Howell, I have no idea why you drafted that guy. Mac Jones was okay at Alabama, but sucks at New. I think it's just a bad offensive coordinator. Chicago, they got the grocery store and Fields. I have no idea why they drafted either of those guys. Carolina drafting Young, I have no idea. It's the stupidity. Daniel Jones at the Giants has to be the worst draft I've ever seen. Again, it's because he went to the Peyton Manning camp, I guess. And O'Connell, why would Oakland take that guy? I mean, if you watch him at Purdue, do you think he's going to get better in the NFL than he did at Purdue? Are you kidding? So I don't really get that. Prescott sucks. Hurts not much better. Really, Prescott, it would have been Kellen Moore should have been the quarterback, broke his ankle, so Prescott stepped in, and he's way overvalued. Josh Allen, he's okay. Burrow's superstar. Herbert's a star, and Zach Wilson, you were going to have Aaron Rodgers. So some of it's injury, most of it's bad. Terrible drafting. They don't understand skill set. So they can't see a player. See, I can see a player in college and tell you, I can see Van Dyke's good. I can see Hartman's good in college. So it's going to lead to he's good in the pros. They can't see that. They don't either watch college or don't understand what they're looking for. It's like how I pick games. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for defense. I'm looking for the Georgia defense, and I'm looking for these over defenses. So when I got over teams playing each other, I bet it over. That's what I've figured out, right? That's the key, is I know what to look for and what I want to pick the game with. And that's me, but that's not what they don't know what they're looking for. Well, maybe it's Lamar. We'll get running quarterbacks. Yeah, running quarterbacks. That's why they're all injured, because they're going to get injured. Look, Kyler Murray, running quarterback, out. That's your problem with the running quarterbacks. So you can't have a running quarterback in the NFL. You can get away with them a little more in college, but in the NFL, they're all bigger and faster, and they will kill you and knock you out. Jimmy G is bad too now. He always sucked. Profit. Oakland should tank the remainder of the season, draft a high prospect. Profit. Oakland is they're even if they play, they're tanking. You don't tank. There's no such thing as tanking. You don't tell your players to go out and lose. If you do, you got a bunch of losers, and you might as well cut them all. But that's a terrible strategy. You play your best and see what you got, but there'll be plenty of quarterbacks for Oakland to take. They're going to have one of the top 5 draft picks, right? Signing Garoppolo was a huge mistake, but that's because he had played for the coach at New England. He played 4 games, and he got injured in 2 of them. So I don't know what that was all about. But, yeah, I mean, you got a guy, Trask, at Tampa Bay, who's better than all these guys. And, they're not trading for him. Garoppolo sucks, but they don't need to tank to get those picks. I mean, they're probably one of the worst teams anyway. What's Carolina going to do when they get the number 1 pick and they just took Steve Young? What are they going to do? Or Houston, they just got J.G. Stroud. What are they going to do when they win 2 games? Greg and John, I didn't think Brady would be so good in the 7th round. He was drafted. You think the coaching helped him? No, not at all. I think the Michigan coach had his head up his ass because of Drew Henson, who was supposedly the better player, and Lloyd Carr couldn't spot talent. I watched Brady at Michigan. He was no Joe Montana. He didn't get in that much, though. It was Drew Henson, so you wanted to see Drew Henson in the game. So when Brady did go in the game, you're like, well, what is Brady doing in the game? We want to see Drew Henson. That was the biggest problem. I think Brady got to the point where he was mad, saying, I'll prove it to you that I'm good. And he got the chip on his shoulder. Like when somebody questions me about gold, I had that girl question me on it, fucking idiot. And I get mad. And I think that's what happened with Brady is when you're no good, and he got mad. And I don't think what he learned was taught to him by the coaches. I don't think Charlie Weiss or any of these coaches that had him, if they were that good, they would have done it with other quarterbacks, which they didn't. Montana was different. He was good at Notre Dame. You could see he could do it. And that's what I think with Hartman, and that's what I see with Van Dyke and Rising. These guys are clutch, good. Penix, Bo Nix. These are very talented quarterbacks. You can see that. I'm not sure about Caleb Williams because it's a system. It's sort of like Fields and Stroud. It's just the system. They're not really good. If you look at Stroud, he looks good, but look at his stats. He throws for 200 yards and they get 3 points. It's not. It's the points. It's not the yards. It's not. Well, he didn't throw an interception. Yeah, they haven't scored 10 points. What's Carolina? Carolina is a where are they? I know they're playing this week. Carolina's a Z team. They give up 28 a game with Steve Young, which means they don't score 15 points a game. But he's he's 7 touchdowns and 1 interception for 250 yards, but don't have a running attack, and they're all a bunch of little dump passes, so he looks good. He's won 1 game, and not good. C.J. Stroud at Houston, I think he's very similar. They're an under team. They give up 18, but they don't even score. If they're a W, they'd score 21. So they score like 15. It's the same thing. He completes passes over the middle, so it makes him look like a good quarterback, but he doesn't get touchdowns. So they don't score. You need a quarterback who scores, like Mahomes, like Herbert, like Joe Burrow. Look at Joe Burrow light up San Francisco last week. What the fuck? You watch Zach Wilson this week. I ought to light up San Diego because they don't have much of a defense. But that's what you're looking for. And you'll see Dak Prescott choke in this game. He's got Philadelphia, who doesn't have that great of a defense, but watch him choke. But that's it. The best quarterback is Joe Montana by far. Not even close. He didn't throw an interception. They were 4-0 in the Super Bowl. He beat the 84 Bears, which are every bit as good as the 85 Bears. He beat Lawrence Taylor in 88 and 89. Should have beat him in 90 when he broke his hand. They were winning when he left the game. So he's beating superstar, Lawrence Taylor, the 84 Bears. He's beating these incredibly good teams. I think he beat the 87 Bears or 88 Bears, who were also still had most of their players. They were still a very good defensive team. I remember he went to Chicago for the championship game, and it was 20 blowout, and he had Jerry Rice, and they won the game like 20-0. I think that did it for me. But yeah, he's the best by far. So are we going to see a last-second comeback in the LSU-Bama game? I have no idea. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll come down to the last series. I think LSU's good enough to be able to move the ball on Alabama. LSU's defense is bad. Look for LSU to blitz a lot because that's the only chance they have is to get and blitz Milrose. You can't give them time. But I think if they blitz, and I think Brian Kelly likes to blitz, I think LSU is going to score a lot on Alabama. That's my point. And maybe LSU and 9 is a good one. My problem is their defense is really bad, LSU. So it becomes an over. It's like playing Colorado. They're going to score, but they can't stop you. So as weak as Milrose is, I think Alabama can score, but I can see LSU winning the game, especially with 9 points. That's very, very likely that it'll come down to it, and LSU keeps it close. If it's close, LSU can win it. But I don't see Alabama. I don't think their defense is going to 3-and-out LSU all game. Maybe a little, but I think LSU, again, it's a revenge game and it's in Alabama. So 2 key things. But LSU's won at Alabama before. But no, I'm growing on the quarterback for LSU. I didn't like him from Arizona State. He sucked, and I really didn't like him last year. Way too many turnovers. And keep in mind against Florida State, he threw 3 interceptions. So, keep in mind who you have. But again, probably gets over. And LSU in 9 probably is good. But, I don't know. It might not be a last-second comeback. They might be up 14 with 5 minutes left. But I do see points in the game. This is not – LSU's got too little defense to really to keep the game under and to really dominate Bama. You watch, they'll probably try to blitz them. They'll get burned a little bit. But LSU's got the way better offense. But they don't have a defense, and that's always the critical part in these big games. I take you back to Dan Marino and Dan Fouts. Why did they never get to a Super Bowl and win one? It's because they didn't have a defense. And that's really the key. That's why I look at defense. I would much rather have, like Georgia's got a 14 defense and an A offense. I'd much rather go to bat with Georgia than LSU because they just don't. And if LSU plays Georgia, they're never going to be able to stop them. That game will be 100 points, and Georgia's going to have 60 of them. So they'll not stop them. But that's the difference. So look for that. But this should be a huge weekend for me. Like I say, I've got like 20 games, of which I'm not even sure that I'm going to narrow them down too much. I don't know who to eliminate. Okay, maybe I don't play USC, but we've already given Kansas out. And, I'm coming up with New Mexico and Vegas over. And the more I look at it, the more I like it. So I don't even know how to eliminate that one. So my biggest problem is I've got 20 picks, of which – I'm in Vegas. I'm playing 11, 12 team teasers with figuring I'm going to win them. Not just, well, maybe it's these I'm going to win. So that's why I'm saying as I get all the data and more statistics for the year, I now know the teams. Who the fuck would have known that, New Mexico was an over team? They've been an under team for years. All of a sudden, they're scoring 35 a game. They give up 33. They're an over team. See, this is the thing. Otherwise, if you just guess at them or look at them from last year, you don't get anything. But if you look at them as you get the stats in for this year, now I got 4 or 5 conference games, and I can really sink my teeth into them. Then these are no problem. These are getting easier and easier, and then I'm less likely to get fucked taking a team and then not realizing I took the wrong team. But yeah, but the pros are still. You start getting the pros like here this week. This would be a lock. Green Bay 3 over the Rams. The Rams in 9 would be a lock, a huge lock. And now I got Stafford with the hurt thumb. What do I do with it? So now we got to wait till Sunday to see if Stafford plays or it's going to be Stenson Bennett, which I don't mind either one. But this should be an easy lock. I get a hurt quarterback. I mean, that's what happens in the gambling, and that's what you're waiting on. But I got some good plays in the pros, but there's so many bad. Like, what do you do with the Giants in Oakland? You can take Jones or O'Connell. How do you bet the game? Maybe you bet it under because both quarterbacks suck, but that's about as far as I can get. You got such bad quarterbacks. Really, really difficult. That's why when you need it, you go to Burrows, you go to Mahomes, you go to, maybe you go to the Philadelphia Madoffs, go, oh, they're going to cheat. So we can take, this will be interesting how Dallas tries to stop the Madoff play. But Philly -3, I don't know. Anyway, that's what you're looking at in college. We're getting a much clearer understanding. Well, don't worry about Bobby. He's got other fish to fry. That's why it's live, but you can watch it after. I know he watches it after, so he will. I know he's interested in the LSU game. So that's what we got. Picks are in. I got 2 locks, but I think I probably will go with 3. And again, it's only if I find games that are strong to lock. Your free plays Kansas and the Seattle Seahawks. Kansas as a dog. And now, am I afraid of Kansas letting down after beating Oklahoma? I think it's a little different. Texas against Oklahoma or Oregon, Washington, it was such an emotional game that Washington won was going to be flat the next week. But in this one, I don't know that it was such an emotional one that Kansas is going to be flat. Kansas is not the type of team that's going to be flat after beating Oklahoma. They want to keep it going. I think if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, they might be flat. But they were bad. Now they're getting better. They played 4 good games in a row. I don't think they'll be flat. I think they're just going to keep going. I think Stanford, they got the rhythm going. Cal, they got the rhythm. I don't think they're going to be flat. Look for them to keep going. And with Kansas, they got such a great offensive coach and a great quarterback and runners, and they know how to execute that. I don't think they'll be flat either. It's more flat when the big rivalry, Michigan, Ohio State, and the next week they're flat, or Oregon, Washington, or Oklahoma, Texas. The next week you're flat. But I don't think that's the case with some of these. Kansas beating Oklahoma, I think they're just going, we just beat Oklahoma. Now let's go kick Iowa State's ass. So I think it's a little different. But that's what we got. So we got a boatload of games, and I think they're all going to win. You're going to give Bobby, don't give him Bobby's cards. Give him some good cards. Give him, well, you can't. It's hard to give them Clemens or McGuire or Barry Bonds because they're not worth anything. But anyway, remember, back to our paper universe, gold universe, that what you got to realize is the paper's going away. That's why we're buying gold and silver. So the paper dollar. So this is losing value. These are going away. These don't have a value, and soon nobody will want them. Now the game's fixed where I can get paid in this and I can pay my bills in it. You got to understand this is a medium of exchange. This is something that you get to use to pay. So you get it by working, and then you use it to pay your bills. So, but it's losing its value, which is the point you don't understand. The clearest way to say it is gold was worth $35 an ounce in 1971, is now $2,000 an ounce today. The ounce is an ounce of gold. What happened is the dollar lost a lot of value. It's losing more and more value. Every time you go to the grocery store, it's going crazy. I mean, you got to be careful. Fortunately, I eat a lot of veggies and fruit and meat. That hasn't really gone too much. Although my broccoli is now $2.99 a pound, which is a joke. It should be 99 cents. But I stay away from the Cheerios and the Oreos, which I can't eat anyway. So I don't really notice when my avocados are still $1 that it's a big deal. Or bananas are 50 cents. So I'm not really noticing that. Meats pretty much, like I said, I paid $1.99 for chicken breast on sale. And I think I paid $5.99 on hamburger, the 86 sirloin. So I'm not really noticing, but I did see steaks all 13, 14, 15 a pound. You just don't buy them. If they don't sell, they got to lower their price. That's when you see the sale. So in my mind, forget it. Now you can buy a roast. I saw a roast at $5.99 a pound. It's the same as hamburger. This one guy had this huge roast. I go, is that 5 pounds? And it was like 4.5 pounds. I mean, it'd take me 2 weeks to eat the thing. So I tend to get 3-pound roast because I get 3 pounds of burgers and I eat it for 3 days, and that's fine. I don't mind it. How much is gold going to be worth? It's going to be worth nothing in dollars. It'll have its own value. So first it'll go to $50,000 an ounce. Then it'll go to nothing an ounce in dollars as the dollar collapsed, and the dollar, nothing will have a value in dollars. And then gold will then take over its own life. It'll buy a house with an ounce. So gold will be worth a fortune, basically. So as this goes away, the gold universe comes into play. And that's what I keep showing you. So this now has unlimited value compared to this, because as this gets worse, this goes up until this goes out. When nobody wants it and there's no value, it's gone. So as I say, when I try to sell you this in dollars, you give me $75. If nobody wants this, it has no value. So if I go to sell it to you and you say, I don't want to buy it, this has no value because I can't get value for it. Nobody will give me $1 for this. It has no value. And what's happening is nobody wants this anymore. The Americans don't understand it because we get paid in it. So I get my paycheck and I go and pay rent and buy food and pay utilities. And I go, oh, it works. But what you don't realize, it's got less and less value. And as soon as nobody wants it, this goes out. What's the value of gold when that goes to zero? Will not be zero. It'll be whatever gold buys, and the demand for gold will go up because everybody needs money. So again, is there a market for this? Does somebody want this? Yes. Is there a market for gold? Yes. And the price will go, because right now the price is being manipulated down by the derivatives. Once you get rid of the bullshit, which is totally illegal, these people should all be in jail. Once you get rid of that, so the value of gold goes basically whatever it buys, the purchasing power. So gold won't be priced in dollars anymore, but everybody will want it because all the dollars will go out. What do you think happens when this goes to zero? And all these are going to zero. This is going to zero. This is going to zero. Where are you going to go? You're going to gold. Well, guess what? There's not a lot of gold out there. There's only 240,000 tons of it, of which Russia and China have 100,000. So there's only 140,000 tons. Of the central banks, probably, let's say, have 50,000 tons of it. So that leaves, 70,000 tons. So 70,000 tons for all these people is nothing. And that's what's going to happen. So that's what you got to realize as the dollar goes out, because nobody wants it. And Russia's already said, we don't want it. China doesn't want it. Saudi Arabia, don't pay me in dollars for oil. Well, people will go, why? And then they'll go, it's not worth anything. And then people will start going, oh, right. And then it's all over. And once nobody wants it, the value of that goes to zero. Gold, being money, keeps its value and will go way, way up to the point where you won't have a price for it because it's priced in dollars. It won't be priced in dollars. Just like your house will not have a value in dollars. It'll have a value in gold. That's critical. You got a $500,000 house, it's $500,000. The dollar goes to zero. The house goes to zero in dollars. Now here comes gold. Now your house is worth 2 ounces of gold. That's what happens. So everything gets converted from paper to the gold universe. That's the theory. That's my thesis today. So that's why you got to get out of the dollar, because it has no value. But what does have value is gold and silver. And silver at $25, if you have any sense, any common sense, you would be like, I got to go buy 20,000 ounces of it. I mean, as much as you can afford, you got to buy silver, because it's going to be, that's 25 an ounce, but it's going to go to 2,000 an ounce. Then it's going to be worth, it's money. So it's going to be worth a ton. So gold and silver will be worth fortunes. You'll be like a king. You'll be able to buy whatever you want with it. But if you don't have it, you're fucked, because, oh, well, the government will take care of you. Oh, my God. Yeah. Go to those trains. We're going to take you to those concentration camps and put you in those ovens. That's what you get from the government. Will this be in our lifetime? This will be in the next year. Why can't we pay stuff with gold? You could. Have I ever met a gold digger? Sure. All girls are gold diggers. It's just the way they do it. It's just what women do. You can pay with stuff with gold, but why would you want to? Why would I want to? Gold at this price, it's $2,000 an ounce. Why would I want to use gold now? I went to my coin store, and the guy said, "Do you have American Eagles?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we'll give you 2,000 an ounce for it." I go, "Why would I give you 2,000? Make it 20,000 and I'll give it to you." So why would you want to sell your gold at these ridiculously low prices, or silver for these ridiculously low prices? You don't want to. Just hold it. It'll go through the roof. It's happening soon, as I said, and I say, because of BRICS and because nobody wants the dollar, and they're printing the dollar and creating wars just to, here's $1 billion. Here's $100 billion to Israel. Here's $100 billion to Ukraine. Where are you getting this money from? You're printing it. The more you print, the less it's worth. What the fuck are you doing? So they know what they're doing. So yes, it'll be in our lifetime, relatively soon. And you can use gold, but why would you? And of course, just any woman's a gold digger. What did I do? I wondered what I just sent my cards plummeting out there. So that's the bottom line. So that's economics, my friends, is simply, if you oversupply, you lose value, is the basic fundamental thesis, right? So it's like anything. If you make 1 million bottles of this, the value is going to go down. But if you only make a couple of cartons of this, because it's 12 years, the price is very high. As long as you have demand for it, then the price goes up. If it's short supply, if you have a lot of supply, the price goes down. So what's this worth? This is worth like a half a cent now. But they don't tell you that, and people don't realize it. They're not smart enough to understand it, so they don't understand that the money they're getting paid and the money they're using at the grocery store is worthless. They don't understand that. So all you can do is take advantage of it. Take your money, go to the coin store, buy as much silver and gold as you can, because that's all about to go up. You're buying it extremely cheap with dollars that are worthless. So if I take 2,000 of this crap to the coin store and I get an ounce of gold, not only did I get rid of 2,000 pieces of crap money, but I got gold that's going to go, I'll buy a country with it. So it's a real easy basic concept that nobody really is taught or learned or understands or wants to hear. It's amazing how many people don't want to hear it. They're afraid of gold. They don't get gold. Oh, no. But they don't get that. They don't want to come to the conclusion and understanding that the dollar's worthless. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to understand it. They don't want to understand the escape is gold. They don't want to hear how to get free. They don't want to be free. I mean, I don't understand it. Why don't you want to be free? Or do you enjoy being a slave? I don't really get, when I talk to people, the problem they have of getting out of the dollars into gold. I don't understand it. I scratch my head. I go, how can you want to be in dollars? Why do you want to be a slave? And they just don't get it. They don't want to listen. And you walk away going, well, I tried to help, but you know what? And this is always my smart ass comment back is, well, when the dollar collapsed, don't come knocking at my door for help. I tried to help you now. You refuse. You never refuse the Don. If you refuse the Don, I don't forget it. So just, go fuck yourself. I don't know what else to do. There's nothing else I can do but tell you. I can say buy gold, and you can say, well, I'm too stupid to understand the concept that the dollar's going out because they're printing trillions of dollars. How do you not understand the basic concept of supply and demand, which is the more you make, the value drops because there's so much of it, unless there's more demand than that. But there's no demand. Everybody wants out of the dollar, and everybody wants gold. If you put an ounce of gold and $2,000, everybody should take the ounce of gold. Or let's say $1,000, everybody should take the ounce of gold. A lot of people will probably take the $1,000 because they don't understand. What do you think gold is? So I don't know. I could have bought 5 Jordan rookie cards, and I sold one years ago for $800 on eBay. Well, what was the condition? Were they PSA 10? But we all have those stories, Gregor John. I mean, it's you got to live today. You can't, you could have also bought 1,000 ounces of gold at $200 an ounce when you could have bought those Jordans. So, woulda, coulda, shoulda from some movie. But that's what life is. The more you understand of what's going on, the smarter your decisions are, which is what I'm teaching you. So the more you catch the concept that, I could have bought gold now at $2,000 an ounce before it hit $50,000 an ounce. Or I could have bought silver at $25 an ounce before it hits $2,000 an ounce. That's where you're at now. So you either use that information and be smart about it, or you don't use the information. But the information's on the table. My goal is to provide the information that you can understand of what's going to happen, and off you go with it. So that's why I listen to Mark McGuire and Alligator and Egon, is to help give you information, make those decisions. But we are leaving the paper universe, and we're headed straight for the gold universe. And if you don't understand that, I don't know how else to explain it to you. But if you don't get it, you're going to be in big trouble, because you'll be in paper, you'll get your paycheck. But what happens when the paper isn't worth anything? The dollar is going out. I mean, it's just a matter of time till it's not worth anything. Now, they'll try to ram CBDCs down your throat and say, well, if you want anything, it's CBDCs. And they'll try to force it into you. And then I don't know about the control. Maybe there's control, maybe there's not. But I don't even think there'll be CBDCs. The banks aren't going anywhere. The banks run the country. Remember that. They run the government. So don't for a minute think they're going to do CBDCs and the banks are going to go away. They're not going anywhere. The paper might go from one to the other. I hear this commercial where Bank of America is going to change your bank accounts from money to digital currency. Well, how are they going to do that? You get a paycheck. You're not going to get a digital paycheck. So you're going to make money. How are they going to make that digital? What the fuck is he talking about? then everybody's got to accept it. And everybody's got to, you pay the bills in digital money. That ain't never going to happen. That would be exhausting to happen. So they're not ready for that. Maybe in 10 years, but by then, who knows what America will look like. So anyway, should be a great week of football. From now on, this should be a lot of the similar win. Now we got New Mexico playing Utah State. Oh, over. Oh, we got Washington playing Washington State. Oh, over. So you just the dance changed, but they're all overs. Colorado goes to Washington State. Well, that's an over. Colorado against, I don't know, Utah. You're gonna bet against them. But that's what you do is you've learned your team. Now you bet your overs, you bet your unders, and you bet your, maybe take LSU and 9. But that's what you do. You've now understand the teams. Now the bigger teams, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia. Those you already know. You don't need that much. There's not a lot of change year to year. Georgia gets a new quarterback. Ohio State got a new quarterback. He sucks. Alabama's new quarterback sucks. So that you understand. But the Bo Nix and the Penix and those, you see what's happening, and you go, yeah, that's what I expected. It's the Hartman that they're not as explosive as they should be at Notre Dame. Is what kind of confuses you. Anyway, so we're at our 3-hour mark. Anything else? Prophet, Greg or John. So we will see your free picks. Kansas with the Seattle Seahawks. And we got some really good game. Roll Tide. Washington SC probably hits 100. We'll see. It's just a big number to bet on, 76. And you got some other good ones. Oklahoma State. You got Kansas State, Texas. You've got Army and the Air Force. Curious with this Michigan, Purdue. It's not big. Alabama, LSU, and UCLA, Arizona. So you got some nice games coming up. We'll see what happens. And if everything goes according to script, we'll hit them all. And so far, we're 2-0 with script games. The Duke game went under, as it should have. And you gave me such a low over in yesterday's game. I played over 30 and got the win. Normally, if that was a 30, it was a 30. If that was a 42, I would have played it under or 40. But a 36, you made it so low. So Minnesota, Atlanta, 37. Will I go over? I don't know. You've got 37, Arizona, Cleveland. I don't know. LA, Green Bay. If I got Stafford, I could go over. The Giants in Oakland, I don't know if I have a real quarterback on the field. A 37, probably not. But anyway, so I'm glad Oakland. But again, why Oakland hired the guy in the first place was a mystery because there was never a chance he was going to do good. He's not a good coach. So why would you get a Belichick assistant? None of them are any good. Why would you get one? Wondering why they don't work out. 2 years later, you're firing the guy. Why you hire him? You don't know what you're doing to hire the guy. Anyway, DK, you're doing great, sir. You should teach to others, but people are blind to see the truth. I do teach. That's what I'm doing here is teaching. You mentioned me teaching at a college that this cannot be taught at a college because they don't want it taught in a college. They don't want Austrian economics and gold being taught at a college. Then people will learn and get out of the dollars. That's why you don't see it at most colleges. There's a couple, but generally no. That's why I'm here teaching it. I mean, normally we're talking football, but as bad as the economy is, and they're pulling the wool over everybody's eyes and nobody understands it, that's what the government wants. They want you to be blind and just take what they say. And, just like these wars, the war in the Ukraine was US and Russia, but they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know anything they do. They want to be private. They want to control you. That's the way the government is now. It's ridiculous. So that's, it's unfortunate. So, I get about 100 views on this. The problem is like Bobby telling his family, I'm going to buy silver. They look at him cross-eyed. So Bobby's family doesn't even understand Bobby. Like, why are you buying it? Bobby gets it, but the family doesn't. And so why not? So you don't even agree with Bobby, your son, your brother, whatever. You don't agree with him. I mean, what kind of crap is it? How do you not agree with them, right? So that's really where the problem lies, is that your own family won't agree. My family wouldn't agree with me. When I got my master's, I would talk like this. They'd look at me crazy. That's why I got divorced, and I don't talk to my family. They're too strange to talk to. If they don't believe you, it makes it very difficult. If they don't think you're honest or don't trust you, it makes it very difficult to want to be around them. You just say, fuck this. And that's really the problem. People are just stupid, and you don't know where they get it, but they won't listen. And I don't know why they won't listen. I don't know. They're listening to somebody, but I don't know how to get them to listen to me versus somebody else. And then a lot of times I get these arguments, oh, gold's priced at market. No, it's not. It's being price fixed down on COMEX and the London exchange. So how do I argue with these people? They won't listen to you anyway. So you try to find people that'll listen to you, and you will. It's sort of like the Matrix. How do you teach it? Or what's that other movie I was thinking? Or like Terminator. How do you try to explain that the robots are going to take over and nobody will listen to you? So it becomes very, it's frustrating on my end. And then you just get to the point you don't give a fuck. I'll teach. If you want to listen, you'll listen. If you want to understand the truth and you want to survive, then that's what I'm teaching you. If you don't want to survive, then keep with your paper and don't come to me when it's worthless and you can't buy anything on it. I can afford silver, but not gold right now. Well, if you buy enough silver, the silver will buy you gold. So as I said, the real price should be 10 to 1. So when gold's 50,000 an ounce, still in paper, the silver price will be 5,000 an ounce. So you can take 10 ounces of silver to buy your gold. Once gold gets away from the dollar and it will buy a house, well, 10 ounces of silver will buy the same house. So buy as much silver as you can afford. But you don't really have a choice, because what are you going to do when the dollar's worthless, right? I mean, at least you have a little heads up now, but when the dollar's worth it, you're not going to be able to afford anything. Soon you're not going to be able to afford anything because the value of the dollar keeps dropping. So that's what you got to understand. You got to find money somewhere. Sell assets if you have to. People hear what they want to hear. They believe everything on the TV. People hear what they want, what they agree with. So if I say the sky's blue and you think the sky's blue, you'll listen. But if you don't think the sky's blue, you won't even listen to it. You'll immediately say, no, the sky's green, and turn me off. I'll do that when I hear guys say, no, don't buy gold, buy stocks. I immediately turn it off. But because I know they're wrong, not because I don't agree with it. As you can see, I bring in the doctor and these other people, being open-minded, that makes sense. I go, yeah, I agree. This guy can stop diabetes and cancer by fasting. Okay, I just kept an open mind, found somebody that said that, and I believe them. So that's really what you're trying to do. But they do well. That's what I try to tell you is who to believe in, right? Who do you trust? And I say, don't trust Peter Schiff or Rick Rude or Reichert or any of these idiots. Don't trust them because they don't know what they're talking about. So you really shouldn't trust them. But that's really that's the problem. Um, Somebody will say something and you'll trust it. Why? Because you don't want to do the work to see if the guy really knows what he's talking about. I'll see somebody say something and I'll go into Google and go, is this guy a Keynesian or an Austrian? What kind of economics does this guy believe in? Most they're Keynesians. And so I just turn off because I know that's bullshit. That doesn't mean anything. So that's what you try to understand. But yeah, I think most people are lazy. They don't want to learn. So they just shortcut. So again, if I say, oh, go invest in stocks, they go, yeah, that I'm comfortable. I think it's also a comfort. I'm comfortable in that they're not comfortable with the dollar going out and they're going to have to get rid of the dollar and they're going to have to actually get off their asses and go to the store and buy gold. I don't think they're comfortable with that whole move. I'm just going to watch TV and my money's in the bank and I'm earning interest. I'm fine. Because they think everything's going to be the same. And when somebody like me says it's not going to be the same, what are you going to do? That's really the problem, right? You don't know what to do with it because it's not comfortable. It doesn't make sense to you. Oh my God, I'm going to have to work, you know. So it's really, that's the key to it. It's just understanding what it is. It's learning what to do and not just I do it because I heard some guy. I hear it with you guys in your football picks. What do you like in the Lou Monroe, Cincinnati game? And I'm rolling my eyes. Where the fuck are you getting that game from? Are you kidding me? It's because you heard it on ESPN or BetMGM. You heard these turkeys talk about it, and so you said, well, if they, that guy liked North Texas State, I'm going to bet them. It's not your bet, it's their bet. Why are you betting it? Now, if you analyze them, you realize what type of team they are and who they're playing. And yeah, that makes sense. That's a different story. But it should always be your bet. And that's why I'm very good at this. I don't listen to other people. And my bets are everything I'm telling you here is my bet. I understand it and I can explain it to you. That's the level of competence you got to get to about everything: economics, money, gold, football, basketball, girls, poker, whatever you want. You've got to understand it. And then if it makes sense, you do it. And that's really where we're at. So that's what I'm trying to teach you is the fundamental to learn what's important and then go from there. But most people don't do that. So anyway, that's about it. I think I'm going to eat. I got to cook some burgers that I bought at lunch, and I don't know. I might go to the lake. My problem is I got to get to the lake before it gets dark out. It gets dark about 6:30, but I'm kind of hungry, so I need to get a quick bite so I can get to the lake and relax. So I can then because once it's dark out, I can't really go to the lake at 7:00, but I can go at like 5:00. You too, Prophet. You have a nice night. Good luck tomorrow on the games. www.teaserking.com. I'll have at least 2 locks, probably 3 locks. The more I go over these, the more I like certain games going, wow, yeah, I saw it, but I didn't register. And as I see it again, I go, fuck, that's a no-brainer. So you start picking up games like that that are even better than you thought, and you start betting those. And that's where you go. So the more I look, the more later in the week, they seem to make more sense. Like sometimes I rush to get it in on Monday while I get a good line, but then sometimes they're better off betting on Friday when you really know who to put them with, because it's a teaser. You need two teams. But anyway, have a good night. www.teaserking.com. I'll be on at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we got the big noon kickoff game, which I think is going to be Kansas State, Texas. Probably Ohio State, Rutgers. And that. Be careful of the Michigan State Nebraska game. It's like senior day, and they're all pumped up. I don't know if that means they can actually win. But they'll be emotional for the game. It's funny as hell, and that's about it. So go enjoy, and good luck tomorrow. Again, www.teaserking.com. A lot of games and pros, and probably a good 9 or 10 team teaser. We have a very good chance of hitting them all. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I will talk to you tomorrow.